Hey guys, so we've been here before, but hopefully we're all a little bit older and a little bit wiser. So remember to choose life, choose YouTube, Spotify, Twitch, and Twitter, and hope that you find people who love movies too. Choose making new connections, choose growing into the people you all really want to be. Choose playing video games until crazy hours at night. Choose watching silly movies nobody's ever heard of so you can tell your friends. Choose watching that trailer for that movie you know you'll hate because at the end of the day, you're a movie lover. So love movies, all movies, good or bad. Choose to share these movies with the ones you love. Choose life. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Choose the We Know Kino podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Choose your hosts, Bexby and Seven, Steve Knievel, and the spooky memes. Let's fucking go. That's
absolutely
great.
Gentlemen.
We're doing, what are we doing? What movie are we watching next?
We are doing T2 Trainspotting 2. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We mentioned it just before recording that some people would be weirded out and be like, why is it called T2? And all I have as a note here is it's just to piss off James Cameron.
Okay, so more than just to piss off James Cameron, which we all love to do, right? He's a very piss-offable guy. It's what the characters would have called the sequel to the movie, you know? Because they would have done that as a fuck you, James Cameron, right? That's the
very
idea.
True.
Yeah.
Hi, by the way, guys.
Yeah, hey,
properly
guys.
Just a hi. Hello.
Did we even say hi when we got in the call?
I came in later and everybody was just like vibing. So
we have now.
We're here. I guess we could just jump straight to histories because I know you lot don't have one. This is your first time watching it, right?
Yep. Last night was my first time.
Last night was my first time. Last night, baby. Okay.
I'll give mine, even though I kind of mentioned it. So it's short and sweet for this. I went to see this in cinema when it first came out with one of my mom's cousins and his boyfriend the year it came out. And
when
I
did
loved
it come
this.
Out?
2017.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I would have just turned 21, I think, at the time that this had come out. And I remember just feeling very adult and getting a lot of the themes and like relating to them, like, oh my God, you know, I'm mature now that I get this movie. And I just really, really love that. And I am going to say that I think this is one of my favorite sequels to a movie in general.
Ooh.
That isn't part of a big franchise. Like, you know, trilogies and sequels and whatever, it doesn't go past a large number. I think this is one of my favorite.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed it. What do you think as well, Steve? How did you feel about watching this one?
I'm glad that I got to see it. I'm glad now that I have the total story as far as like the movies go now. I've seen the original one 3 weeks ago and I've seen now the sequel last night. I went back and forth like thinking about it after the movie ended and I thought to myself, right, there's part of me that like did enjoy it, and then there's part of me that was like, the first movie was so good, did it need a sequel? I went down that avenue for a little while, and then there was part of me that was like, for the people who love the first movie, that know it, can quote it, you know the story from start to finish, know it front to back, every kind of like scene, every sequence, every like little quirk in it. It feels like this movie was just a love letter to them, you know, the ones that just knew, that just adore the first movie. Like, I it could go both ways. I was like, it's a love letter to the diehard fans of the first Trainspotting, and then it's a good sequel for people who like the first movie. I was just like, it wraps up the story in a neat little bow. I went all around and like with different kind of like takeaways, but all in all, I enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing it. I'm looking forward to discussing it.
I'd even said it in the first recording, and I'll back it, I suppose, in this one. If the first movie had never gotten a sequel, it would have been totally fine. Like, this does not need to exist. But as a sequel that ended up happening, it's not one of those like cash grab feeling ones where it's like, oh, we can make money off of making a sequel. I think it's they wanted to tell a particular story with this one, and they got to do it, which I think works.
20 years later, you know.
Yeah. But I can fully get it. I do.
There's a novel that came out 10 years later called Porno, which is a sequel to Trainspotting, and they tried to turn it into a script, but they just weren't happy with the screenplay for it, so they didn't end up going with it, and then they 20 years later made this, and it was much more real, and the actors all signed off on doing it, you know. It's so I'm glad that's how you can tell that it's not just like a cash grab as well, because if it was, they would have just went with the first version, right? Or they would have just made the sequel straight after because this was a hit, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there was probably a lot of pressure from people, like, hey, make the sequel, and then the longer you wait, the more the pressure builds when you're doing a sequel that's from such a beloved movie.
There's plenty of heart in this.
This film to me is about. I was getting real existential with it last night. I'm lying in bed and I'm struggling to sleep because I'm thinking about the film and I'm thinking about what I'm going to say today. It's a film about aging, gaining and wasting opportunities, and it's obviously a film that is aged with its audience. Which is almost like a rarity, you know. Like I think more recently, X-Men '97. That was something that aged with its audience, and I thought that was incredible to see, like how the storytelling even aged with, you know, the viewers. I think Harry Potter is actually a good one for that as well, you know, where like
for aging with the viewers kind of thing.
The characters are aging and the viewers are aging and the storytelling is aging. As much as, like, I don't think they're great movies, but in that sense is what I mean. And then you get like The Simpsons, which just never aged, you know, the sitcom style thing. So you've got this. So I never watched the movies when they came out. This is just like past few weeks we've got into these, but I can see that Danny Boyle was obviously trying to capture the feeling of what it's like to reflect on memories of the past. And through Spud's character, we really see that. Like he like mentally and physically with the pictures that he has and his writings.
Spud is the main character of this one.
Spud becomes 100%. The author of Trainspotting. You know, by the end of this, he really is. I'm turning 30 soon, guys. So I'm doing a lot of thinking as well about like my life choices, how things could have been different, having to live with the decisions that the younger version of myself made. And this film captures a lot of these thoughts. Obviously, like I don't think I've done as many things as, you know, I've done things to be ashamed of, but not to the extent that these characters have. And it's also, when I was watching it, I was happy because it was like a movie about friendships and reconnecting, and that was really nice. And it's a movie about also knowing when to disconnect from friendships and when to sever these bonds and the people we meet as we're growing up, and how we all change as people, or sometimes we don't change. And thanks for choosing these film specs, because it's awesome. Thanks the pair of you for being here at this part in my life. It's really, I love that we can do this and talk movies.
They're such fun movies to show people, because there's those sides to it. It's the fun drugs movie, and there's the good music, and it's visually impressive. And then when you actually sit and realize the stories are getting told, they're a little bit deeper. Like this movie is still fun, even with all of the broader aspect of what's being told and said, and like them getting older and experiencing life as it is.
This movie's more fun than the previous movie for me.
It's got some moments that are sad, but it's a lot less darker, I think, than the first one, right?
Yeah, I feel like Danny Boyle has became less pessimistic. as he's gotten older, and you watch like, what was his most recent movie? It was either this or Yesterday, and that's quite a nice movie, Yesterday as well. We'll see how 28 years later is, but yeah, it doesn't have. It's weird. It's got the grit and it's got the edge, but it's not as a huge downer. Where the original one is a real downer. You know,
baby scene in this movie. There's a couple of there is darker scenes, but there's no fucking freeze up and.
No baby scene, no toilet scene. There is a toilet scene, but not that toilet scene. No. You know what I mean?
But I'm glad that at least the two of you enjoyed watching it, and you didn't instantly I'm glad that this one didn't fall off massively for either of you. Like you were like, no, this one's terrible. This should never have existed. And again, we're all older gentlemen now at this point. I'm sure there's a lot in this movie that we can relate to ourselves, and in a couple of years' time, if you watch it again, maybe, or it comes around, you'll have more to connect with as well over the years. Because this one in particular is definitely even watching it last night for myself, I haven't watched it now maybe in a year or two, and even again, I have a whole different life experience to bond with to the movie as well. So I'd like them both. I love these movies very much.
I wonder how this movie plays. I always wonder this with sequels, because whenever somebody, we have a lot of people in our chats. They'll ask us, "Hey, do I need to watch the original?" Things like this, and I'm always like, "Yeah, you should try and search out the original with any movie series or TV show, right?"
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't just about Trainspotting. Maybe this is broader, but yeah, you should watch the original before. I don't think this would it work as its own standalone.
I don't think so, because
it's
personally,
so
I think you need
past,
that first movie,
right?
Yeah, you need to know who they were before they came into this, especially with the characters like Simon in particular. You need to know who he was before he comes into this movie.
Oh,
even with Begbie as a character, if you go into it just knowing what he's like, you didn't know what he was like in his younger years and why it's such a big deal that he's the way he is in this movie. So I think the two of these, you need to know what happened in the original one before you'll check this one out.
Sorry if you guys can hear that plane going over.
No, it's all good. It's also, I think it's like a reflective piece as well, this one, because if you've seen the scummy, junky versions in the first movie, nobody's like that in this movie, really, to the same level.
So I think there are a few things in this film where obviously whenever you're starting a story, you'll open up on coincidence, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of progress the story in a natural way after the main coincidence act point. So the fact that, we'll get into it when we're going through the beats of the movie, but they all kind of culminate and come together at this one point in life when I could totally imagine them with no teeth in a hospital. They can't do anything, or just dead at this point if they continued on their lives that they were leading, certain characters. A few years back, I went to Peru with my dad to go and visit my granddad before he passed, because he was on his way out. And my dad grew up in the streets of Lima, just doing all of these drugs and playing guitar, right? And when he got there, after he left, he joined the temple, he left, and then this is 30 years later, we're going back, maybe even more than that, 40 years later, and all of his friends are dead. There was nobody there, right, from his past. It was the younger brothers and sisters were there, and they recognized him, but all the guys he grew up on the streets with, living that life, they don't normally live a long life, and he got out, but the other guys weren't as fortunate to get out. So it's kind of even hard to imagine that people
There's so many of this group that got through it.
Yeah. Especially Spud. Although he is on his way out at the beginning of this film. There's an
arc for Spud, but I agree. I remember when we went to see this, I was like talking. I was like, I'd imagine like Sick Boy or Spud are probably going to die or be dead in the gap, like in the time. But no, that we get into it when we do, and everybody's still up to shenanigans and.
I'm glad the cast
realizing-
we have are all there as well, because they're all fantastic. These guys really came back and brought their A game. This is some real good acting.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we, you guys want to get into the beats?
Will we start? Will we get going? Before we do start though, I want to do a warning here, because my notes, even when I was taking my notes and I read back over them, there's so many different like storylines and plot points that are jumping between, like every different character has a different story going. So about like as we're doing the notes, I'm going to be going through like every story point that's happening, and it's going to sound like we're jumping from this person to this person to that person to this person. It does that in the movie, and it does all collide into a big mess at the end, like a beautiful mess, but it will sound like I'm going, and now we're going to this person, and then we're going to that person. But like that's just the way it is, because you need to keep up on everybody's stories. So I just wrote down that just to say
at the beginning, before the characters all meet each other and come together.
Yeah.
It's constant jumping, but yeah.
Like once it gets flowing in, and you've got your it's like a bunch of split ends on a thread, and once all of them start to get twisted together, then it starts to clean itself up. There's a lot going on.
Very nice.
But right, I suppose it's time to get talking about T2 and not Terminator 2. Trainspotting 2. You guys ready? You guys cool?
I was born ready for this.
Ready.
Okay, so we start our movie. We were wasting no time catching back up with our main boy, Renton, from the first movie. It has been 20 years since the original, and Renton is now 46 years of age, and he's living in Amsterdam. And we see him working out on a treadmill in a gym full of people. There's a bunch of shots of just Holland and telling us, hey, look, he's in Amsterdam. And he just slips off the treadmill and crumbles onto the floor. He's lying there, music is playing, and he's just after having a heart attack while working out.
The original film was started with him running, right?
That's true.
Running from the polis, or running from the
polis.
Running because he was doing a crime, and at the end of the film he runs away. In the beginning of this film, it's cutting between the ending of the previous film with him escaping, and then him running on the treadmill here, but his past is catching up to him, but it culminates in the heart attack. I was like, oh, that's such a great way to start the movie, you know?
We're already getting deep in the opener.
That's what it is, man.
What have I? So on top of what Seb has added as well, it's here where we kind of get like a little glance at the kind of deeper story that's in this one, because there's a group of kids playing football. All of them are kicking it around. The girls are there, the boys are there, and every time a boy gets like a freeze frame, it's a name showing that every kid that's playing football here is a younger version of all of the characters that we have seen in the first movie and will be in this movie as well.
Did you notice the difference with the freeze frames from the previous movie? So the previous movies had the freeze frames, and it was to show the characters' names, and this time it's the freeze frames, but it shows the actors' names.
Yes.
Good spot.
Also, the movie begins with just like the best soundtrack ever, right? It's just
the entire soundtrack is just banging again.
Fantastic again.
And there's like a bunch of new songs in here, and they're like, when they start playing last night, I was like, Bob Mine was like, oh my god, this is such a banger. When I watched it the first time, it's so good.
They completely blend in with the original soundtrack as well. It really fits.
Yeah. And they do a really good, like I mentioned it a few times when it plays, a somber version of the iconic Born Slippy song. When there's like little sad moments, it plays, and it's really, really fucking cool. But right after our opening credits, we're cutting around now, so we cut to Begbie, who is in prison after the end of our last story. He's been brought into a room to speak to his lawyer, who's informed him that he wanted to get an appeal to get freed and it's been denied. Begbie, of course, isn't happy. You can tell here his age is eating at him as well. Like he's realizing how long he spent in prison.
Yeah, Robert Carlyle really sells this. The line that I'll never be able to do it like that, but he calls him a DOS cunt He calls his lawyer a DOS cunt. And if you guys aren't from like the north of England or Scotland, I don't know, do you guys use the word DOS over there?
No, but we know what it is. I think.
So DOS means like lazy or playing around. And obviously, you know what cunt means, so I don't need to explain that one. But...
You sure? Do you want to?
Yeah, there's some heavy language in this, but that is just like... That's not even so heavy in Scotland, honestly. Yeah.
Or here. I think cunt is used a lot over here. I don't know. Well, where you are, Steve? Cunt, big word?
Yeah.
When I would like go knock on my friends... we'd ask, are you coming to DOS? Are you DOSing out? Are you DOSing out? Hey?
Yeah.
That's what you'd say.
To be fair, yeah, people over here would call you a DOSer. That's about all we'd get. We wouldn't use it as like, are you coming to DOS or anything like that. You just get called a DOSer.
Yeah, it's like a verb here.
Yeah. That's so slang words, different words, different. It's cool. I love learning that kind of stuff. I love when somebody like says a word that's like fully...
Begbie's the most into it. Like he's using like, do you ken what I'm saying, lad, and stuff like that. You know, like
him and Spud.
Yeah,
I think are the two heavier Scottish accents and word
Absolutely.
uses. Where
I mean, what Spud's actor can never get rid of it in like any role that is in.
He's
always got the Scottish accent.
But yes, we get his we get Begsby's appeal has been denied, and he knows he's got another 5 years left before he's freed, and he's already said that he spent the majority of 20 years in jail. We later find out that he spent 15, and this would push him up to his 20 years in jail.
What's the question he asks his lawyer? Is like, do you think I'm immortal or something like that?
Something like that. I didn't write down the couple. It's something like that.
Yeah, it's great.
During the conversation, it said that his lawyer had failed to pass on some information in the hearing by Begbie's demand, and on learning that, classic Begbie shows up and he flips over the table and says, "Are you going to press that wee little button?" And we get a little freeze frame of him obviously flipping the fuck out like he does in the original. So from there, then it's like an introduction. It's like a reintroduction to all of our main characters. So we cut to Spud, and he's speaking to a support group about how his life has been since trying to get clean. He started to work in construction. His ex-wife, who was Gail in the original movie, has had a son, and that Spud gets to spend some time with him.
Wow,
yeah, same actress, same person. Yeah.
It's very much like the scene from when he was being interviewed in the original.
Yes. He's like
shot like
rapidly spitting it out, and it is the way he sat in the chair. Even just his whole demeanor is like the exact same. He's like frantically, but he's kind of little, like he's still a skinny dude. I can't remember what's the actor's name again.
I feel like he's even more skinny in that Ewan Brenner.
Yes, he looks way more frail in this.
Brenner. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he like especially the face. He's almost like skeletal with his features.
He's very good in this, though. He is very, very good.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
He then explains how one day he got fired from his job for being an hour late to work. Then he was an hour late to explain to the social service why he was fired. Then an hour late to the appeal for losing his benefits. An hour late to a work focus interview, and an hour late to to see Fergus in the supervised visit. And then again late to the social service to explain why. And then he explains that the reason that is because of British summertime and the clocks had all changed an hour. So he lost time, and the reason he didn't care about time is because for 15 years he'd been on heroin, and they call it skag a lot in this. And when you're on that, you don't need to pay attention to time, and it's such a classic like Spud situation.
He's really does have a way with words in this, and he's the only one who's kept up with the heroin as well out of the main cast here.
Yeah, because it is right here where he says that he's been clean for 5 years, but then had relapsed, obviously, to go back on because he had no money, he had no access to his child, and because everybody else in his life had left him, heroin was his best friend. And that's where we cut away from Spud as well.
It's really sad. He's the only friend who never left him.
Poor Spud. I even said this is the first one. This poor Spud just gets an awful go in these poor movies. Like, guy's so innocent, so nice compared to everybody else. He doesn't want to do anything like harmful, but he's always getting fucked over. Poor Spud.
He's really the heart of this film more than
yeah.
Renton is, actually, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to cut to Sick Boy.
We do. We got our last of our crew have been reintroduced to us now. And this is the one I'm excited to hear, because remember when we were talking about Trainspotting 1, you were like really curious about what happens to Sick Boy.
Yeah. No, he really follows on from the previous.
What do you think
end of the previous
before
film?
getting crazy into it? What do you think of what happened with Sick Boy's character? Are you happy with the way it is, or do you think he could have been worse?
Yeah. I think it helps that he's really well acted. I don't know if I could really buy it. That I don't know if he's smart enough to try and do this thing. Like his scheme.
True.
But I do like where he is, and he's working for his working at his like auntie's old pub, and like he's kind of stuck, but he's still grifting, and is still grifting women. Is still like he wanted to be a pimp 15 years ago, and he's still on that path, that same path.
What did you think of it, Steve?
This, weirdly enough, I think slightly probably in the minority here. I was disappointed with him in this movie. I think his development is, in terms of the other characters' developments, I feel his one is the most kind of like, he doesn't really get much. You know what? I think this movie succeeds completely the exact same if he's not in this movie. I think that's how now, as I listen to you two talk about this, I might see your perspectives, but I think Sick Boy's if Sick Boy is not present in T2 Trainspotting 2, I think the movie is the exact same, and I think it succeeds all the same, because like you said, we know who our protagonist is here, and the other two at least get some like reasonable develop where they start the movie and where they end up. Technically, one does start and end up in the same place, but how they kind of come to that, like their journey is totally different. But Sick Boy, he starts and he ends, and nothing has really changed for him.
You know what? Him and Renton.
I
would say Renton even less so. More so or less so? Renton has almost like the least character development out of these guys, and he almost has the least to do. He just kind of shows up, and then the other characters, he just follows what Sick Boy does, right? That's his whole thing. So I think rather than Sick Boy not being in the film and it not changing anything, I think these guys were all on this path without Renton, but Renton just happened to show up, and that's what gets them together. But he's kind of just following Sick Boy's lead the whole movie.
Yeah, Renton is our narrative thread that connects everybody back together, gets the story kicking again.
Yeah, but he's not so much a moving the plot forward protagonist, even though he is the connecting thread. Whereas like Sick Boy has the plans, right? And we're following his plans, and Spud becomes like the narrative heart of the film, and then the constant antagonist, the tension that's building is in Bigby. So I feel like where Renton was our main character in the first movie, even though he still technically is, he is to a much lesser extent, in this one.
Yeah, listening to both, I can see your points. I'm not going to be like the push glasses up and go, actually, but I hope during talking through some of the stuff that maybe, especially with Steve for Sick Boy, I suppose, that you'll maybe change opinion a little bit through talking through it. Because I think
to think about this stuff. I always come out with a different opinion than I came in. Like whether that's like I already loved the film and I have more of an appreciation for it, or vice versa.
But I agree with both of you in the aspect that like, from the start of this movie to the end of this movie, Sick Boy could come out of it as the exact same person. Like there's no like, oh, he's learned something from this. But in there, I think there's enough between himself and Renton to be an important point itself about both the movies.
To be fair,
Well,
the movie
we'll get to
is
it.
like, even if it's not about them moving the plot forward, the relationship between, and I know I just kind of pooped on Renton, but the relationship between him and Sick Boy is very important to the film, and that's really cool to watch as well. Like the friendship, but also the hatred between each other. I really got into. I really loved that the back and forth that they have there.
To be one of the my brain is so big. Oh, look, think of me. Think the entire team of this movie is a bunch of like 40-year-olds thinking of the past, right?
Yeah,
Like they're all caught with the past. This movie doesn't have a afterwards. There's no what happens to these guys after. This is who they are now. This is a bunch of 40 to 50-year-olds.
Maybe in another 20 years we'll get the next one, you know. But
I hope not.
It really is
I
all
don't
the
think
hearts
it
have
needs
just given
another.
out at that point, though.
All of them on a treadmill together, and they all just go.
No treadmill. They're in like a care home. Yeah,
I think it is. It's a story about a bunch of people trapped in the past. So there would be like, again, my opinion. You guys can think differently at the end of it when we talk it out. But there's no reason to know what happened to Sick Boy after this. You just need to know what he's like in this time period when this movie's taking place.
That's true. I think that's what I
other.
was very curious about as well. Like, I think with the last movie, I'm like, okay, well, how do they not get arrested after this? And with this movie, when we get to the end, we discuss it, like where we think they all ended up. It is just like, oh, what the fuck are they going to do now? But that's another story, you know. That isn't this story.
Like, this story is telling us, this story is our, okay, well, what happened to them after Renton's betrayal at the end of the first movie? This is how this is. And one thing I will give, we were talking about, you know, you came into it back when you said, well, I thought Sick Boy probably wouldn't be in this movie. I thought it would have been like something would have happened to him.
Yeah.
I think the best thing I could say about Renton as a character, if he didn't actually do what he did at the end of the conclusion of the first movie, all four of these guys would have died at some point.
Oh, 100%.
They're all going down the dark path. If he didn't go to that, like, you know, make that decision to portray the other three, they all would have died.
Our example of that is Spud in this movie. He is the image of if Renton hadn't left, this is exactly what would happen to every single one of them, other than maybe Begbie. He would have just been in prison because
maybe Spud would have been better off though if he hadn't.
They'd have done the same. They'd have never changed. But they don't change. They go right back into their old ways here.
In fact, we'll get into it very soon. So I'll save my thoughts for when we get into the into the beats. Yeah, because we get a bit ahead of ourselves, aren't we? With the
But like that, I'm glad I asked that question though, because I even watching it, I want to know what the two guys thought, especially about Sick Boy, because everybody else's story has like a beginning, middle, end that's very important. Where Sick Boy had, this is who he is, and then at the end of it, you're like, that's still kind of fucking who he is. So I just wanted to, you know what I mean? I just wanted to get what you thought about.
I think that's okay. Yeah,
we get back into it.
Yeah, sure. Another thing, just to point out, is that like did I say this earlier? God, this is from all the drugs I used to do. I can't fucking remember anything anymore. No skag, nothing this hard. I used to smoke a lot of weed in art school, guys. Then we're not really referring to them as their nicknames in this film as much.
No.
I think Spud more than anybody gets his nickname, but for the most part, like, Sick Boy is Simon, Renton is Mark, Begbie is Franco. You know?
Yeah.
I thought that was going to change when they all meet back up, because like it's other people calling them these names. I even wrote down when we first see Begbie in jail, I was like, oh, he's going by Franco now, or the people here call him Franco. Like, you know, you can kind of like make a new image for yourself, but no, that just kind of continues, you know.
It's because like I know it, especially because my dad in his town is known by a nickname. He's known as Sweaty Fiend, right? That's literally his nickname. Yeah, literally that's his nickname.
That's you on DVD.
I should have made that my Twitch name. That would have been great. But like people from his town, they'll all hype him up as, oh, sweaty, 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 sweaty. But then when like he's talking to some of the older people that are more his age, they call him by his real name now.
Yeah.
So it's like the same in this movie. They've all grown up and they've just not. They don't. And on top of it, none of these people really know each other anymore.
That's true. Yeah.
Like I think the only two people to the kind of reference that they have a kind of connection at all would have been Begbie and Sick Boy Simon, but even added that there's not a lot there either. There's only like a little bit of a respect or even a weakness of Sick Boy later on.
Those two obviously have known each other over the years, whereas Renton is the one where everybody's got this idea of Renton because they've not seen him in so long.
Yeah.
I remember working in the after out of uni. And I'm working in the museum, and I see somebody who I hadn't seen for like 6 years, and she comes up to me, and she was visiting, and she goes, "Huh, I thought you'd be in like Japan or somewhere else by now. You're still here?" And I was like, "Oh, that hurts." Their image of me was totally different, and it came right down to earth when they saw me.
That entire like, oh, you're still here. There's conversations to be had later in this about all of that kind of stuff.
This is why I was saying I was getting really existential watching this film. I was thinking about it, like these characters, some of them are still in the same place, and like Renton wants to prove that he's built something with his life, but has he?
Has he?
Yeah.
Even during the week on stream, there'll be a few people that watch, if they comment or whatever, during the stream after having watched this the first time. I kind of had like a big conversation with people on stream about like just town, like just my town and stuff. And that, like when I watched it last night, I was like, I wonder will the other guys kind of have that. And I'm just glad that you've mentioned that there's existentialness. Not that I want you to feel that or anything.
No, it's good to reflect. I think this movie shows, you should be reflecting and then thinking about where you are, and then hopefully that will make the future. You will make a better future for yourself by doing that, rather than not giving a fuck. Like the whole thing about addicts, they don't give a fuck about their future because they're also in the present, right? And they don't give a fuck about what they've done in the past either. That's the issue,
Deep shit.
Deep shit. So we
get our thingy.
40 minutes, 40 minutes into the pod, and we're like 3 minutes into the movie.
Oh my god.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. But yeah, we've now got introduced, or reintroduced, I should say, to Sick Boy, who's called Simon throughout this movie. And he's showing us what he's like. He's still a piece of shit because he's jumped into a car where he's blackmailing a headmaster of a private school with sexual footage of him with a woman. There's some pegging going on in here. And he basically there's some weird shit on this footage. It's a big boy. It's a very big boy.
It's like a forearm. It's massive.
Yes.
Pegging is in at the moment. It's like everywhere.
It is, yeah.
What the fuck?
Even in Disney, guys.
We just watched Deadpool recently. Lots of pegging references. Have we missed Begbie in jail? So did we skip past that?
No.
Beckon talked about him and his lawyer.
We have him getting the lawyer in the jail. Trust me, when he gets out, the next bit, that's after this.
Okay.
Yeah, because like you get that was only our reintroduction. Then you've got like again, this is why I had to say at the start. There's so many jumpy points. Between every single person.
Absolutely. Okay, sorry to derail.
It's all good.
We just got on track, and I'm like, but what about this?
Trainspotting on track.
That was smart. Well done, Steve.
Nice.
I hate
Thank you. See what I bring?
Genius. So we cut again away from Sick Boy having blackmailed this guy, and Renton has flown back to Scotland, and that's when we get our title card of T2 Trainspotting. So everybody's reintroduced to us. We're 40 minutes into a podcast, and the movie's actually starting now. So yeah, it's here. As I mentioned, we're back with Begbie in prison, and he's gotten some friend in prison to stab him directly into two places that he's looked up in a medical book that won't do any harm to any organs. But his friend in prison gets a little bit overzealous and stabs right through him. It goes through the front and out the back, and he stabbed him into his liver, is what Begbie believes he's done anyway. I would not use this as a way to get out of prison at all. Imagine just going to somebody, hey, stab me, please, so I can get brought off to an ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
Nah. Nah.
I mean, prison's that bad, and he wants to get out. It's part of his plan.
He spent, again, 15 years in prison. That is long.
It must have been in and out, though, right?
No, I think it's clean straight through. He had so many charges in that first movie, built up for armed robbery. Then he got ratted out on for their deal as well.
Okay, so I was going to talk about this later because he holds a lot of animosity for Renton, and he kind of blames Renton on where he's at in life, right?
Yeah.
But between him getting arrested at the end of the last movie, right, and this, while watching this, I was assuming that he'd just been in prison this whole time, right, because of all the charges. But no, he's gotten out and he's had a kid, and he's got a missus and a home.
The kid is old enough, I think, to have been before. Because to jump the gun a little bit, his son says he's starting college. That's a good into your 20 years of age.
So maybe
he had this kid as the scheme was happening at the end of the first movie kind of timing.
Yeah, the kid was in the oven or something like that.
Yeah. Because it's not mentioned of Begbie as a character that he has a significant other, because he's off in nightclubs with other random ladies and stuff.
Yeah, that makes
in the first
sense.
Movie.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then his animosity towards Renton really makes sense.
Yeah.
But he is the kind of guy who could hold on to a grudge and then blame that guy for everything, all of his bad decisions.
That's kind of still the same. He obviously has a lot to blame Renton for, but he's still on the same level of what you just said. He just blames him for every single thing that's after happening now. It's all because of that. So we go back to Spud, and unfortunately Spud relapsing. He's bought himself some more heroin from people in a dodgy looking apartment. It's done kind of the same way as when Renton bought the opium from the guy in the first movie. They do the dodgy deal.
They really show how sad it is that he is an old man and he's buying this stuff from people that were his age in the original movie, from kids basically, and he's come to these kids to buy this. It's tough to see.
And while this is happening, we are watching Simon, who's sitting in a back room on his computers watching his female friend pegging a man again to gather the evidence so he can blackmail more people. This thing is giant. But also we get our first little torn in the side of Simon, because he is snorting cocaine, which is a consistent issue throughout this whole movie. He's not cut clean entirely off of drugs. He's just changed his drug of use, I suppose.
Yeah, drug of choice.
And because he's taking his cocaine in there, the guy has spotted the camera that's been using, and he starts to attack Simon's female friend. So Simon has to jump into the room, protect her, and the guy just rolls off. And he very casually walks down the hallway of that hotel there naked and just gets into an elevator without dressing himself.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Imagine just being in the elevator. Imagine the door opens up. This guy naked just
I was
walks in with
honestly
you.
waiting to hear a scream when the elevator opened, but I don't know how many. I don't know. It looks like a seedy place anyway. It's got a really cool blue hallway. Yeah.
So it's basically here where we get our first and really only new important character. The female friend that works with Simon is a very beautiful Bulgarian woman called Veronica. Who basically tells Simon that she's sick of all of his shit and she'd rather work with a guy called Mr. Doyle, which the only reason I know it is because there's a scene later that's important, so his name is taken down. And Simon gets a bit protective of her in this kind of moment, but she isn't having any of it, and they just have a bit of an argument and agree to go home. So their work relationship is kind of shit. And then we cut to the one scene I'm very excited to talk about, because I mentioned it the first one. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Renton returning home for the first time in 20 years. His father is in there. His father lets him in. He sees him in the distance, walking down the road to come in home to let him in. and he informs Renton that his mother has passed, and Renton hadn't even returned home to see her, visit her as she was dying or when she died. And then in the shot that I'd mentioned before, it's an identical shot of the scene in the first movie where they take him in to try and help him. His father sat on the left, Renton is sat in the middle, but because his mother is missing, the way that Renton's shadow is cast onto the wall, it makes out the shape of his mother.
It's so cool.
And I mentioned this before. I was like, this shot is so fucking cool, right?
It's like the visual. They've brought to our eyes what it's like to have a memory burnt into the back of your head. You know, it almost the shadow almost looks like it's burnt into the set, right?
Yeah,
dope.
And on like a double meaning of it as well. When they're sat, himself and his father, he says it that even when you were gone, she waited every day. She did not stop thinking you were coming home, and that's like, again, now that he's home, her silhouette is still there waiting for him. Now that he's back, you know what I mean? Like, it's so good.
He never called. You know, he never called home. He never wrote a letter, as far as we know, right? He just
no contact. Yeah, that was it. No contact at all. He just disappeared.
Again, my dad actually did this when he joined the temple and left, and 20 years later, a television company got in touch with him, and it was one of those, reunite your family shows.
Yeah,
and they flew my grandparents to Miami and my dad to Miami. My grandparents from Peru, and my dad's in England, right? And they got them on, and they did like walk them out in front of like studio audience, you know, and get them back together to reconnect after all those years. It's crazy.
I bet that was insane. I'd be so anxious in like a moment like that, like,
right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, because like they didn't have a good relationship growing up at all. In fact, my uncle, he didn't go up. He's only returned to Peru now in his 70s, and he left when he was in his early 20s. 50 years away from home and coming back at like the end of life almost.
It's crazy.
Lots of drug use, the connections, similarities.
Can't remember. Oh, here I am. I was trying to figure out where my notes were. It's also here that Renton's dad mentions that Renton's mom had left his room exactly the same, waiting for him to come back. So Renton heads into his room, and it does look identical to the room that he stays in the original movie.
Is it a green carpet because it's supposed to look like a football
AstroTurf
field?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I always wanted that in my room when I was growing up. I'm like big into football.
So gross.
And it's like, it is. It's awful.
It's disgusting. And then it's just full of trains on the walls, and I was like, "Oh, Trainspotting!" Yeah. It's the most ugliest like wallpaper ever.
It's just an ugly room, but it's like
terrible.
Again, it's. I think it's very nostalgic to some rooms I've had. I've had some. My mum and dad had set up weird wallpaper in the rooms and posters and shit all over the place.
Is the locker in the room like his wardrobe, because like a football locker? Then is that what that is? At the end of his bed?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
I'm not a football guy. You guys are football guys, right? I'm not a football guy.
Steve, you love football?
I like football. Yeah, I do. I didn't like it on fucking.
Oh, last night was a big one, right?
Saturday night. Ireland versus England. Yeah, not good. What
happened?
Not good. See,
England won 2-0.
I'm the fucking loser here because, like, you were born in England and Seb lives in England. Like, yeah. And back to the movie. Let's
my best friend is in Spain on holiday at the moment, and he was watching the match on his laptop. And the two guys that scored for England were originally, like, they have Irish roots and Irish family, and they
names,
both
right?
Yeah, and they both played for Ireland before. He was fuming.
Traitors.
Breaking up the place, I'd say.
I was messaging him, like, laughing and taking the piss, and he was fucking fuming. It's like, the two of them are Irish, so score against us. It's so fucking funny. Unfortunately, we do have a bit of a darker moment coming up. Spud is starting to write a letter to Gale.
Oh, guys, trigger warnings for everything in this film. Of course, it's Trainspotting, by the way. If we haven't mentioned it enough already, just know that this is going to get dark, and it does end a lot lighter, but it will get lots of dark moments.
I have, because I like quotes and shit, I have the whole letter, so it is a bit of a sad letter, and if you've ever experienced anything like what's coming up, I'm sure it's going to hit a nerve, but it's important to get it read out because it's for Spud, his character. So he's writing a letter to Gale, his ex-wife. So, Gale, I wish that I could find better words today to tell you that I'm sorry. You shouldn't have to read this because I already made you suffer too much. But I know that you and Fergus are living in a better world without all my chaos. I'm sorry for all the things I destroyed. You are so beautiful, the most beautiful thing in the world, and I only ever made this world ugly. Fergus needs things to be simpler. I know how embarrassed he is about me. I could not be the man that you both need. I tried and tried and tried for 20 years, and everything I try is another disaster. I love you. I love Fergus more than anything, but I'm finished, Gale. I'm sorry. Love you both. I want to see you both smile again. Danny Boy. And unfortunately, as he is reading us this, in the background of it, he's preparing to take another hit of the heroin that he bought.
Mm-hmm.
And while he's doing that, Renton is starting to climb up the apartment block that he's in. He knocks on the door as Spud is lying on the floor with a plastic bag around his head. And there's this visual of Spud falling from the roof of the apartment block off of a chair, which is used as a representation just to show us that he's about to pass away. But luckily for us, there was a hole in Spud's door that Renton could see him through, and he decides to kick in the door. And right as Renton, in the representation of him passing away, is about to hit the floor and die in a weird...
Renton catches him as Spud's about to hit the floor.
He slides in under him, saving his life. Renton saved Spud. Mm-hmm. It's dark. It's very dark. Mm-hmm. And like we've said earlier, this could have been everybody. This could have been all the characters. We said it earlier. This Spud right here, like Steve said, this is what you would have expected from any of these characters if they kept doing what they're doing. And we get it in a visual sense at the start of this movie.
The impact here, though, where this is like us reconnecting with Spud, and he starts by writing this letter. That is so important because this is what then gets him to start writing.
Yeah,
right? This is the beginning of him really turning a new, a new leaf. Is that what you said? Turning a new page here, and this is, he starts the movie writing this awful thing, and he's going to end the movie, writing again to his girlfriend, or to his ex. And that really shows the progression of the character and where he is in life at the end of this. I really love that. I love that.
Even in like a very plainer sense that I really enjoy with this movie. In the first movie, Spud's made out to be this like kind of idiot, junky character. In this, he's probably the smartest one of the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in his writing, even there's parts later on where a certain character mentions his writing and says he's a genius and it's beautiful. And you would have not expected that coming from the characters in the first movie. At all. Even for him to have been able to write the stuff that he does as well as he does, the first movie doesn't give you that at all. Which I really like. Spud's character development in this movie is huge.
Yeah.
But yes, as we've mentioned now, Renton saves him, but it's also in a weird way. There's a very gross shot, but
it's disgusting. I've not been able to get this image out of my head. So I watched this movie for the first time last night, but as soon as I finished Trainspotting 1, I started Trainspotting 2. I got this far, and then I got distracted. I was like, no, I'm going to watch this properly, right? And I want to give it some time between the movies. So then when I started watching it last night, I started from the beginning again, and I was like, oh, not this scene coming up.
It's gross.
It's been gross. Stuck in my head for like 3 weeks. It's so disgusting.
So obviously we've said it that Spud has taken a bit of heroin, but the bag around him. So after being saved, he vomits into the bag.
Yeah.
And it's quite a lot of vomit, and they have to tear the bag off of him, which I'm doing a Steve moment right now. I'm doing a Steve moment.
Oh.
It's like childbirth. It's like he's being reborn in this moment. That's his.
Steve is known for childbirth,
Steve
to be
moment.
fair.
Yeah, exactly.
That whole theme of rebirth, yeah.
See, last night I have it in my notes and capital letters. Steve would have thought of this shit. It's they tear the bag from his face, and this is the new Spud. We got after this moment, Spud's whole life flips upside down, basically to a better version of Spud.
Yep.
But we did have to get through some pretty rough scenes and writing from Spud to get there. But it's good. It's good. It's again, fucking Steve mentioned it. This is the kind of scene, as hard as it is, that you need to see in a movie like this, because you need to see what could have happened to characters like Spud or Sick Boy or whatever. This is what the first movie could have done to all of them, and then from here now we get the actual story from everybody.
It's almost like a reverse of his previous character's arc as well. Not that there was much of a character arc in the first movie, but like, yeah, it's almost like things are gonna go better for Spud, which is nice. I'm just very happy for Spud in this film,
as it should be, because he's such a fucking
guy. Yeah,
he's great. He's awesome. But even though Renton has saved his life, he instantly gets fucking pissed and starts
so
freaking out at him. But he's right, because Renton is confused. He's like, but I gave you £4,000 20 years ago. And Spud replies to him, what do you think I was going to do with £4,000, Mark? I was a fucking junkie. He spent the money that got left at the end of the last movie entirely on heroin. Like, that's what happens. So, like, even the small bit of niceness from Renton, which was a fucking very small bit, it was gone wasted because he gave it to somebody that was not going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
But quickly after he cleans himself up, he's delighted that Renton is back home. He's glad to see him, and one of the first things he has to ask him is, has he gone to see Simon yet? So from there we then cut back to Begbie, who is in a hospital bed after being stabbed in prison. Some stupid ass fucking security guard goes, he needs to use the toilet, but he doesn't handcuff Begbie, which he's meant to be a prisoner in hospital. You're meant to handcuff them when you go so they don't do what happens. Begbie turns into Agent 47, gets him out of bed.
I literally wrote the same thing. Agent 47 is turned into Hitman.
Sees a doctor in the hallway, clocks him, drags him in around the corner. Yeah, for no reason.
I thought, so I you know the way he talks to the police officer to get him to just leave him without handcuffing him, and he's like bigging him up. You know, he's talking to him in a way where he's like, you know, you're a cool guy, and I respect you. You know, like, it's so fake, and I've had like chavs talk to me like this, you know, before, and like people behave this way to me, and like, maybe some people wouldn't notice that they're not being genuine. It's almost like that the mask on moment, you know, this guy and the poor, the stupid police officer just fucking falls for it, right? You'd think he was around these kind of guys all the time. Yeah, that's true. He is young. Yeah,
the guy looks like a very young guy. So
you see that Begbie is manipulative in this film.
Yeah. But yeah, as we mentioned, he's prime hitman now. He takes a doctor's uniform and just gets out. That's it. Begbie is free. His entire master plan is after working. And then we cut back to Rendon, is after showing up at this empty pub right beside a train track. There's nothing even around it. And Simon is inside playing, who is Sick Boy, but I've known him now as Simon the whole way through. And they lock eyes, and Simon just simply greets him with a "Hello, Mark. So what have you been up to for 20 years?" The tension in this scene is fucking great, though.
So there's a guy just sitting in the pub. There's one like old man, and he just looks at the pair of them staring at each other. And he's going to be there throughout this entire scene. What's going to play out?
He's just there for his pints. He's obviously like a regular, and he's just like, I don't give a shit what's happening.
Everything else is gone though. Like this pub, as you said, it's in the middle of a train yard. It's as if like they'd bought out all the other property, but like they'd not managed to buy out the pub. You know, that's still there.
So after being asked what he's been up to, Renton tells us that he's been in Amsterdam, that he's married, and that he's got 2 kids. And then Simon tells Renton that he also has a son, but he lives in London and he only gets to see him once every 10 years. And that Simon is running the pub that they're in currently that belongs to one of his aunts.
Mm-hmm.
The way he says that his son is living with his Hua ex or something like that.
Hua mother. It's with his Hua mother.
Hua mother.
Can't do
Yeah.
that.
The Scottish accent is just amazing. You know, it's like you can say these horrible words, but they're just so different to how you would say them here. I don't know. I love them.
Scottish accents are awesome. That's what they are. Again, nothing in the world satisfies me more than a Scottish person saying polis. I don't know what it is. I just love it. The polis.
The best skit that Limmy. You know, after we were talking about Limmy, I got him again, and I killed him in DBD again. I got him 2 times since we last spoke about him, like 2 weeks ago. It's crazy. Yeah, but his
Limmy's
skit,
great. He's nice.
His skit where he goes, "What are you gonna do? Call the polis? We are the polis." It's just fantastic.
So after their little catch up, Simon starts to beat Renton with the pool cue that he's been using for stealing all of their money from the heist in the original movie. The entire time that they're fighting, like they're smashing glasses, throwing pines, throwing each other over the counter at the bar. The old man is not moving.
No, he's not moving.
He's
covering his drink though.
Yeah, that's true.
Covering his drink.
Just to make sure nothing gets like splattered into the glass. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys might be aware, but I'm pretty into zombies, right? I'm pretty into that.
Wait, are you?
Yeah. Maybe you didn't realize.
We should probably talk about those in some episodes.
Well, maybe my next choice. My next choice. It'll be a while before we got a few things going on. Yeah, so in any situation, I love to play this little game with myself in my head. Like, what would I do if a zombie apocalypse started right now, right? One's coming through the door wherever I am, right? I used to sit in work and I'd bored out my mind. I'd be like, okay, a zombie comes through right now. What am I doing? What am I using? And I feel like Sick Boy has played this game because he knows everything in his pub is a weapon. It's part of his arsenal, and he's going to use it against Mark here.
He's playing Dead Rising for real, you know.
He is.
So right now, Seb, in your room, if a zombie walked in, what's the first thing you're getting?
I've got my pickle jar. I could clock it over the head with.
That's a good choice. What about you, Steve? Right now, don't even think about it.
My PC case. I'm just gonna.
What? Ooh! Not your PC case.
That thing is getting fucked.
Yeah.
Oh, PC to the fucking dome.
This thing's heavy. But yeah, no, zombie apocalypse. All bets are off. Yeah, no more streaming, no more gaming on us.
I suppose there'd be no use for the PC.
I don't know if you watch a hashtag Alive. That guy, the zombie apocalypse happened. He's like, all right, let me just play PUBG for the rest of my life. I've got a giant copy of Battle Royale here. Listen to that hardback. Yeah. That would do some damage. That would.
Sam's entire room is weaponized.
Yeah.
What about you, Bex?
I've got a replica of Lucille from The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
I would legit.
Okay, you actually have a zombie killing.
Yeah. I'm ready. If anybody ever breaks into my house, good luck getting out. That's just the answer to that. Because that thing, I will break it off of you. Like the best thing as well is anytime.
Oh,
it's in my front room. Oh wait, sorry. I hit my mic.
The best thing about it is
that anytime somebody comes to work in my house, like to do work in the house, it's in the front room.
Yeah.
And the door is usually always open. They always walk in. It's like, Jesus, you'd do some betting with that thing, wouldn't you? You'd give somebody a dent in the head with that.
The accent's incredible. That's so good.
It's so funny. But so the fight is going on and the old guy doesn't give a shit, and we get kind of a small but kind of like I think these are important, a flashback of the exact same pub years ago, swimming with people, and sat right there is Renton and Sick Boy as kids, and they're probably about 7 or 8, showing that they have kind of been lifelong friends. which counters the entire conversation and commentary on how Renton felt about any of them in the first movie. Anytime we ever talked about them as people, we always kept saying, it's like, oh, he doesn't give a shit about them because drugs first. Yeah. There they are as kids before drugs are even a thing.
When you become an addict, that's when you become very selfish, right?
Yeah.
So that's at that point in their life, they probably weren't as close as they had been previously.
Yeah.
And we get
again,
that when
I think that's why
Spud
these
says
work.
you two used to be so close. And you're thinking, well, in the first movie, we didn't really see that, right?
No. And that's why I just think that these, like, they're very short and very small flashbacks, but they are important because it gives you that whole conversation of they were growing up together.
They're so
and then
well
the drugs
done.
got in the way.
The flashbacks in this film. So many times I'll watch a movie and it'll like harken back to a previous movie, or it'll go even further back, right? And it's like casting, and they'll stay too long on somebody's face, and you know it's a different actor, right?
Yeah.
In this, when the kids, they look like you could age up to this, right? And when we're flashing back to moments in Trainspotting, the original T1. When they're not using shots from the original movie, you're just seeing like a distorted version of their face or the back of their heads, you know, or like the shape of them, like a silhouette. And it's so artfully done where I'm never taking out the movie being like, well, that doesn't look like them. You know what I mean?
It's the best way to do a flashback.
Absolutely.
Instead of doing the, like, recasting it can take you out of it, but also the new era of de-age an actor with CG now and throw them into a flashback or something.
Well, that too, with the de-aging technology is not there, and it's awful in everything at the moment. Maybe one day it'll be good enough, but it's so bad. But I walked out of Indiana Jones 5, guys.
I don't like it in anything that de-ages somebody right now, at least, or uses.
I get that you have to use the technology to get to the point where the technology is good enough, right? I do.
You can also write around things to not do that. You know what I mean?
The Fast and the Furious, not the most recent.
The one with Paul Walker after passing.
No, number 9. I was going to talk about where they go back to a young Vin Diesel's character and a young John Cena's character, but the actors look nothing like Vin Diesel and John Cena, and they're different heights compared to where they are when they're older. Like it just doesn't. Those actors do a really good job, but gosh, is it jarring cutting back and forth between the two.
I've actually got a good thing for the yapping bubble. I've got a good topic to discuss with you. In relation to de-aging actors, I have a whole thing ready for that.
Okay. I'm interested. So fight's over. Renton wakes up after the fight, and hands Simon £1,000 that he had stolen from him years and years ago. And Simon, in a different shot, then starts to explain the first movie's entire plot and issues to Veronica. But Simon isn't happy, and he wants to fuck over Renton as revenge for all those years ago.
So Veronica is kind of like Simon's girlfriend. Business partner and girlfriend. Business partner more than girlfriend, actually.
We then catch back up with Begbie, who's after breaking into his wife/girlfriend, because I don't entirely know what their situation is.
I literally wrote wife/girlfriend.
Because I probably should have done like
They've probably not been married. As again, he got like taken straight from.
I think the
end.
The relationships assumes that they at least stayed together or connected. Like she's like But other than that, I have no idea if they're married or just
as well for a long term. He breaks through the window and she starts screaming, and he's like mad at her for screaming. It's like, well,
of course, and that has to be the easiest house to break into ever as well. Like,
it's the Begbie thing. Like he's doing something terrifying, and somebody's reacting normally to it, and he's angry at them for that.
It is here as well where we get the reveal of Franco Jr., who is Begbie's son, and like we mentioned earlier when we were talking about it, he's old. He's definitely old.
In fact, he's starting college, right?
Yeah, he says it that he's going to be enrolling in college to do hotel management. Yes, thank you, Steve. And Begbie doesn't take that seriously at all. He like kind of laughs it off and tells him to fuck off. And then he wants him to come and do jobs with him. They're going to go and do some work. And he also can't manage to help his wife/girlfriend in bed when they try to get a little bit frisky on his return. He can't get little Begbie to stand up. Which again, to do the movie nerd, it's the prison time and losing all of his life. He's masculinity as well, and it's just shown here that he's portraying as the big tough Begbie, but he's not entirely himself yet.
Yeah, he's not who he wants to be. I mean, that would give somebody anger issues, I'm sure. That could possibly lead to that, like infidelity. Wait, is that the term?
Yeah.
Is it infidelity? Is that?
I think so. Or is that you can do the business, but there's nothing in the swimmers?
No, that means being unfaithful. No, ineptability, being inept in that area, maybe. No,
I have no idea.
There's a word for it, guys.
Words.
There's a word for
it. It'll be like 30 minutes down the line, somebody's head will pop the word in and I'll be like, this!
Dysfunction? Erectile dysfunction, that's the one.
Erectile dysfunction.
I mean, he has that. Right. That's
he's got that.
Yeah. It's not the word I was looking for, but that also describes the physical thing that's happening. Yeah. That'll do.
With him.
That'll do.
Yeah. That'll do. That'll do,
pig. That'll do.
Babe or Shrek?
Yeah, we went with both.
that would be a good duo to do, actually, for the
Babe versus Shrek. Who wins?
Not in a fight.
I
mean, it's 2 episodes. Obviously,
God damn it!
Obviously, Shrek would win.
You don't know that, though.
I love Babe.
Babe's got some stuff.
What's he got?
He was in the city.
He did survive the city. He did survive the city.
Pig on the streets. Yeah, he survived the mean streets of what city was it? New York.
I think it's New York.
Yeah.
His duck friend could peck the eyes out of Shrek.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
true. Yeah. He was vicious.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about those at another point. Who knows? We could talk about anything.
Exactly. You never know what we're thinking about next.
Back to Trainspotting. Yeah. Simon is trying to tell Veronica all about how he's going to change the pub into this smart, well-built, basically a prostitution center. I think they call it a sauna a bunch of times. It's like a nickname. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's is it a brothel? Is that the actual word?
Yes.
Brothel, yeah.
Later we'll have Simon explaining this to Mark, and every time he says sauna, Mark goes, brothel. And then Simon goes,
yes.
Yeah, whatever.
But the only way that Veronica is going to give her own office and a higher role, she doesn't want to just another one working for him.
Should we try something? Steve, do you want to start the call? We'll all jump out. And Steve, you give a go. So, because last time it was like my issue. We can take a break. We'll take a break. We're about to get into like the next part anyway. We've spoken about erectile dysfunction. It's time for a break, guys.
Oh yeah. He hit record already again.
I knew the minute he as well. I knew what he was doing.
You know what? I wasn't ready at all. I was alt-tabbed. I had different things open. And then when you guys started talking, I was like, oh God, go silent and just press record.
Yeah. Just capture the magic.
Yeah. God, I hate it. Yeah. Okay, we'll roll back straight into the movie. We won't waste too much time.
Where are we?
We are at Renton is showing up at Spud's to tell him to throw on some shoes, and we're getting ready to go for a hike. And they're going into a lovely hike across the Scotland scenery, and they make it up into the mountains. And it's here where Renton gives Spud some sound advice. Yes, Spud may be an addict. He can't just get up and change that, but that's who he is. But maybe it's time to be addicted to something else, like running until I feel sick, replies Spud. But he kind of like Renton kind of laughs it off and he goes, no, you've got to channel it or control it. Some people do boxing, but when Spud asks what did Renton channel his addiction into, he just replies, getting away.
Yes. Channel your addiction into something else, guys. Channel, like, an addiction can be a strength, right? You can use that to push forward in something else. And there's a fucking chainsaw outside as soon as you start recording.
Is it coming true? No, we can't hear it, but I actually think
the Discord
there's-
will like stop it, but I think the actual recording won't though. That's the issue. So I'm gonna
That's
sit in the dark for
true.
5
That's
minutes
true.
and then I'll open it up again. Where they are in Edinburgh, if you guys ever visit Edinburgh and you want to go to where they're running, it's a place called Arthur's Seat. It's in Holyrood, which is like 10 minutes walk from Waverley, the main train station. And it's just like a big old hill. I recently had a date there. It was very lovely. I took Enzo and he was running up and down the hill. He loved it. It's fantastic. It's really nice. And in fact, I'll be taking my Japanese lessons in that area next month.
I think it's really cool that like you guys have places like that you can link to movies, because there's not really a lot of movies shot in Ireland that aren't just Irish movies.
Well,
So,
most English things are shot in London, right, or down south.
Yeah.
So when there is something, I mean, this is Scottish, right? But when there is something in the UK that's like close, I always do try and go out my way. Like, so our friend Krampus, I call him friend Krampus all the time because it's his name. Sean, he's getting a car soon, and we're gonna go and drive off to where Toluca Lake was based off in Silent Hill, because that's near us as well. So that's going to be epic.
Can I please ask for pictures when you do that?
Of course, I bought myself a green James Sunderland jacket.
I've always wanted to go as well.
Yeah. Well, if you ever come visit, we'll go there too.
Yes, please. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
My worst experience of these kind of things is shout out to Kate from all of our communities. She constantly reminds me that Matt Reeves, the Batman, was shot in Liverpool, like around where she worked.
It was,
yeah.
Was it Liverpool and Glasgow?
Yes, as far as I know.
It's the grimiest looking Batman film. The streets are just coated with oil.
That's Liverpool. I'm joking.
No,
Liverpool people don't kill
lovely.
me.
I used to go out with somebody from there. It was awesome. Like with everywhere, there's bad places and good places, you know? Yeah. So Holyrood, Arthur's Seat, you can go visit that. That's really cool.
I'd love to also go to places like the street from Shaun of the Dead, just going into the shop. The opener where he walks in and just get time. Yeah, I'd love to do all that. I'm cliche like that. I'd love to do all that kind of shit. It'd be cool as hell. It's just
when I was in Barcelona, I made sure to go to the apartment where Rec was filmed. You know, like it's just cinema buffs, and you know, the more niche the film, the less people are likely to have done it. Like people were like looking at me like, why is he taking pictures outside of this random like door? And I'm like, Rec was filmed, guys. This is Rec. This is the zombie house.
Catching him by the collar and starts shaking him. It's like, you don't know.
This is the zombie house, and they're speaking Spanish to me. I'm like, wait, you don't have subtitles.
So after the walk, Simon and Renton are starting to hang out a little bit, reminiscing on some old times, girls they'd been with, their first sexual encounters, trouble they've been in, their first hit as teens, how they shared a needle, and even Simon says that your blood runs through my veins because they shared their first needle together. And then Simon freaks out because during this whole moment of like connection between the two of them, Renton's constantly checking his watch because he's a flight to catch. So while he freaks out, he runs off to the bathroom, realizing himself that he still loves Renton. It's like the first moment of they were having a little bond, even though he wants that revenge right now. The little moment there, the two of them were just back and forthing together, and they had a shared little moment. So he's kind of more pissed off at himself.
Yeah,
more so than Renton.
That's why he's screaming in the bathroom.
Yeah. So he's left Renton and Veronica alone, sitting at the table, and she's basically been given a script by Simon to try and convince Renton to stay, but Renton can clearly see that is the case, that she's reading a script.
Good job with it, doesn't he? He's like, he told you to say this, didn't he? And she's like, yeah.
Like, he reads it right away. There's like one sentence she says, and he's like, yeah, you got told to say that. And he's also very aware of Simon's cocaine addiction that started because he asks Veronica about that. So this moment here is for me and Steve, right, Steve? I hope you know what I'm going to be talking about. In one of the weirdest moments, especially in seeing it in the cinema, we cut to a song called Dad's Best Friend.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, what the fuck is this song?
So this was really weird as well. So back in the time of this movie, we had a duo of comedian singers
Mm-hmm.
called the Rubber Bandits,
Yeah.
right? Seb, while we're talking about it, Google that right now, okay?
Yeah.
This
Rubber
isn't the guy who
Bandits.
does "I've got a horse outside," is it? You know.
Yeah, that's the same
Oh,
guys.
it is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I had a very Glaswegian friend in art school who would show me all of their songs all the time. Yes.
They were very popular over here for a while. Like everywhere you'd go, you'd hear "Horse Outside" or
Oh, the horse outside was huge.
Mhm.
Guys overseas. I know we've got a lot of listeners overseas. Check out A Horse Outside. It's the most like, yeah, it's here. It's you'll see
it's
the humor.
funny, but it's also very dated.
It's extremely dated, but you'll see what it's like to grow up here listening to shit like this. People listen to it unironically as well.
There was people I went to school with that have it on their phone in like the middle of lunch, sitting there singing it to each other, and it's like it was huge. But yeah, in this movie, Simon has the music video for Dad's best friend.
Definition of unhinged.
Unhinged.
Yeah. And even in it, the lyrics mention about going to Holland and stuff. So it's like it's got a little weird connection to Renton as a person, but I can't even dive into it because the Rubber Bandits is such a cringe nostalgia piece for Irish people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Are they
Even
Irish?
the radios, they're from Limerick.
Oh, I just
South
assumed
Irish,
they were
yeah.
Scottish because my Scottish friend was always showing me them.
They live very close. They live in about the same place that one of my best friends works.
You can go and relive that. There's music videos.
Yeah.
No. No.
Okay, now I have an idea of how you live, Bex. That's cool.
Yeah. That if you want to know how we live, watch the Horse Outside music video. That's all Irish people, right, Steve?
Yep.
We wear shopping bags over our faces with eye holes and mouth holes, and we sing songs.
Everybody imagines Irish people just sing songs all the time. That's
Well, to be fair, they do.
We do.
Like if you go into a pub or you go to any event, there is singing everywhere, right?
Cool.
Like even to shout him out, even though I don't know if he'll get to listen to this for a while. My best friend Shane, his entire family, the minute they get drinking to them, they all start singing and pulling out guitars. It's like they come out of their ass. The guitars just come out of nowhere and they're all singing and playing guitars.
Like the Dead by Daylight lobby screens, they just pull it. Yeah, they just pull it out like nowhere.
Irish people are DVD
That's such
characters.
a deep cut for like non-DVD. Luckily, I think most people listen to us haven't. They know DVD.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a little weird moment for us Irish people, and I suppose I didn't realize the Rubber Bandits had gotten out of Ireland and over to Scotland and England as well. So that's educated me a little bit because I thought we were the ones trapped with that disaster.
It broke through.
I don't like Seb. Did you know them or the Horse Outside song itself before this movie? Like before looking into it?
Yeah, like I said, I had a friend in uni who would show me this music, and we'd like drink and smoke weed and listen to it, and I'd just be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah,
like,
I was about to say,
crazy.
what did you think?
I mean, the thing is, it's all very catchy, right? So as much as it is funny, it's very catchy stuff, but it is just nuts. It's wild music. It's almost like an Irish Diantfort or something like that, you know?
Yeah. That is like in a.
Although those guys take themselves quite seriously. These guys seem to be able to have a good laugh about what they're singing
They've
about.
changed over the years now, though. They've gotten very political, even though they still wear shopping bags over their faces. They've gotten very political about stuff, which is very weird. I know one of them has a podcast, and he literally talks very seriously, but he sat there with a fucking Tesco bag over his face. Yeah, like it is weird. But yeah, we move on from that, and Renton doesn't take his flight. He was supposed to go on the flight that he mentioned earlier, and he doesn't take it. He instead shows up at Simon's door and confesses to him that he's getting divorced. He lied about having any children. He's also losing his job, and he openly tells Simon about the heart attack. That he'd also been told he'd have another 30 years, but now he doesn't know what to do with those 30 years because he has nothing left in Amsterdam for himself.
I'm going to Amsterdam next month, guys.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah,
Maybe you'll find a wife and
maybe.
run off. You're going with friend Krampus, right?
I am going with friend Krampus. Yeah, because
Sam's going to run away with his money.
I'm going to the well. I'm flying to
opportunity.
Amsterdam, but I'm not staying in Amsterdam. I'm going to another city.
You're just traveling around Holland in general.
Go and do Holland and like smoke lots of legal weed and look at the sites and take lots of pictures. You know.
How long are you going for?
Just 4 days. I'm going basically for a long weekend, so I'll be back. Oh shit! I won't be able to record on the Monday, but I'll be able to record on the Tuesday, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah,
we'll figure these things out.
Monday. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be cool. Sorry, I just
no, it's all good. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully you guys have fun.
We're talking about Holland, Amsterdam. Cool.
So we now go back to Begbie and Franco Jr. as they're breaking into this big fancy house. Franco Jr. hasn't done anything like this before, so he trips over a cable to do the lamp and it makes a noise. And who owns the house is obviously in the house asleep because it's at night. And in classic form, Begbie tackles him as he comes down the stairs, and they make away with some goods, including a big TV.
Yeah, Begbie's son sees the guy that they're burglarizing, and he goes, "Oh, sorry." And then Begbie's like, "Oh, fucking get him, cunt!" and fucking charges the guy. Yeah.
Franco Jr. is not built for this.
No, he's not built for this. He's not following in his father's footsteps.
No. So the stuff that they've stolen, they've brought to a guy that we met in the first movie. That was Mikey Forrester,
yeah,
who sold the opium to Renton in the first movie, and obviously,
cool.
Same guy.
Yeah.
He's kind of upped himself in the world. He's not selling drugs now. He's just taking in stolen goods and selling them from a warehouse instead, including high-end looking cars as well. Anything that can be stolen, he's selling them.
Yeah.
As they're leaving, Begbie gets pissed off at Franco and tells him that if he keeps fucking things up, he's basically going to hit him. He needs to man up, basically.
Franco Jr. He's not talking to himself.
Franco
in the
Jr.
mirror.
Yeah, sorry. And once he gets home, he still can't get little Begbie to do anything for his missus. So that's frustrating him. On top of everything else, Begbie's having a bad time. He's having an awful time.
When we cut from Sick Boy and Renton, I was like, "Oh, now it's these guys robbing," and I was like, "Oh no, this is Begbie and his son Robin," and now we're going to cut to Sick Boy and Renton Robin. Yes.
In a very, I like this scene, but I don't entirely understand it because I don't know the history that's behind it. But the scene is really, really fun. So, as Seb has mentioned, it's Simon and Renton on their first money-making scheme, and their plan is to blend into a very full, politically run pub of loyalist Protestants.
Yes.
There's the year 1960 is said, and it's something to do with the Battle of Boyne. I have no idea what any of that stuff is, so I just know it's a very heavy Protestant pub. That's basically all I know. I don't know if we did it. I don't know if we did anything else on it.
They explain it in the film itself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I should know this. I used to work in a bloody museum, but I don't think I'd get enough of the details right. But yeah, 1960 was a big time. It's the Protestants, and it was also about like the. I'm not even going to pretend to know what it's about, but it's the
something to do with Irish Catholics as well, isn't there? I know that was mentioned.
Yeah.
But honestly, when it comes to wars,
they have
and
big
like
pictures of the Queen
stuff
in the background as well.
Yeah.
Like, are they like super United Kingdom wanting? Are they like?
I think so.
At the time, I think like Brexit was just like happening as well. So like. Later on, they go to like Holyrood to do some legal stuff, and there's like there's European flags and shit like that. I don't know if that's true, if they were trying to say anything, if that was like a point they were trying to say there.
I have no real idea. Again, when it comes to the deeper side of this, I don't really know, and I don't really tend to look into stuff like this. I just
the idea is that 1960, the
1697.
1690, sorry, is like extremely important to
Protestants.
These guys who are all chilling in this like community center, and they spend their life talking about 1690 and singing about it and hanging out.
I've never traveled up north, but it sounds very much like what I've been told the Northern Ireland can be like as well. It's very religiously like split up there in some places, so it gives me that kind of vibe of whatever kind of situation's been happening there. So again, I don't know all these stuff. I don't look into it.
The fight actually took place where I went to college. Actually, previously, pretty cool. Yeah. It took place close to the town of Drogheda, across the River Boyne. Yeah.
Shit,
so
there we go.
That was kind of dope. It was it was waged between King James II, King William III, Queen Mary II, and it was just basically the Brits. Were they fighting amongst each other, or were they fighting against the Irish? I don't know, but there you go. Fuck. I need to look into this. This is really fascinating to me, because the scene I found the scene comedic, but
it's really funny. Yeah.
Not understanding the context, but now I'm curious.
Apparently, this happens in venues all across the place, like in Northern Ireland and Scotland. I should have looked into this history. I knew this was going to come up.
I should have probably noticed stuff. It's just I don't like looking into the splits between England and Ireland and stuff. I don't like looking into it, so I didn't want to get into it at all.
Yeah.
So basically, to get all away from how deep and horrible it could be, it is a very funny scene, because the two guys, Renton and Simon, are sneaking around stealing all of their wallets while in there. And before they get to break away, a big security guard is like, "Hey guys, you look new. You should probably go and sing us a song."
No, he says, "Gi's a song."
Gi's a song. And they do. They go up. They awkwardly start putting together a song improv, because they haven't got one, and they're trying to make up something that'll appease.
Sick boy knows two notes on the piano.
And basically the majority of the lyrics is just "no more Catholics, no more Catholics," and it drags everybody out onto the dance floor. They're riled up, and they break away then after they sing it. They made everybody happy, and then they break to ATMs, and any card that they can find that use the password 1690, because it's an important year to them, they get in and steal all of their money out of the cards, and the ones that didn't use that as password, they just throw away the cards. So they've cleared out numerous amounts, because there's so many cards there that they seem to get to work.
It's almost midnight, and then when it hits midnight, they start it again, because you can pull out a certain amount of money every day, right?
Yeah. We only mentioned it earlier, but I get to have a little Bex moment for real here. When they're driving home, they start to talk about a very important person in my life, because of football, and it is George Best.
Oh yeah.
So I get to have a big Bex moment right now. George Best is a Northern Ireland football player that played for the team that I support, Manchester United. Considered one of the best football players of all time, up there as one of the greats. They're having fun in the car. Renton and Simon having fun. They're messing around with Snapchat, but they're trying to like educate Veronica on who George Best is. And George Best has a big connection to me and my dad. My dad is a huge Manchester United fan, and unfortunately in 2005, after a long run of alcoholism and like alcohol abuse, George Best passed away, and my dad went to the funeral. He traveled all the way up to the Northern Ireland to go to George Best's funeral. And at about the same time that he'd passed away, the Northern Ireland released, I think it's like 100 or 150 notes of like, I think it's like €20 or €100 with George Best's picture on it. And a couple of members of my dad's family have a couple of those notes, and I'm pretty sure my dad's one is somewhere at home.
Oh.
So my dad loved George Best, and I remember I was only young, 2005, so I'd have been 9. And I remember bawling my eyes out, crying, watching George Best's funeral on the TV, and be like, "My dad is there! My dad's and I'm very into football now. I didn't really understand it entirely back then, but even then, I wanted to be there. That's how like important to, I suppose, Manchester United fans that George Best is. That a 9-year-old wanted to be at this guy's fucking funeral. So George Best is huge for us and Irish people. Just he might be Northern Ireland, or Northern Irish, but all of Ireland claim George Best as somebody that they love. So fucking Simon and Renton have the same kind of respect and love for him that I do. So yeah, I have that kind of connection with George Best, and they get really deep into it. They basically, like, they do a good job of explaining it. They have him on the TV and they're hyping him up and explaining, and then they tell the story.
I got nothing from this. As a non-sports fan, I got nothing
the
from
Playboy
this.
story
up to the point
literally it.
where Veronica even just starts speaking in a different language to them, and they're just like, yeah, because she's getting nothing from it. She's like, oh, I could talk about literally anything right now. It doesn't mean anything. It's just,
but like on the flip side of that, somebody, the one story you do get, the Playboy story, is literally that's it. That's all you need to know about George Best. He's like that. That was all you needed.
Anyway,
like, he was the
idea
guy.
is that they're both like shouting at her different stories, different things that they're both saying, and it's just so well shot. And it's you're seeing like subtitles are coming off them as they're talking. Oh, it's dope. It's dope.
And the two lads throw on 2 iconic jerseys as well. Classic Red Man United with a 7 on the back.
Projected onto the side of the car. Is that the match? You know, when they're driving to get there. Is that what that is?
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It's like, because it's the same when they get into the house. Okay. He's on the TV, so it's basically just that. And this also is just showing us that both Simon and Renton now have bonded back together. They've become the childhood type of friends. They're messing with like Snapchat filters together, and
they capture that so well. You know, if you haven't seen a friend in a long time, and then you just start reminiscing about the past, or you just suddenly talking like you'd never had this time away from each other. Yeah, that was like me reconnecting with a bunch of people in person after the pandemic. I was like, oh, this is really cool. You know what I mean? Like, they really do a great job of showing that the bonds that these two have.
And it's nice. It's, again, the flashbacks of their childhood and stuff. It's literally like watching 2 kids getting excited about football and random shit. Just that they lose themselves in the night just randomly.
But reality is the pair of them doing a bunch of coke and then just shouting at this Bulgarian sex worker.
But in their head, they're having the best night. They're loving it. Where Veronica probably wants to die.
No. She sees the fun in it. I think what's really endearing about Veronica is she knows that these are all bad people, but she'll sit there and smile, and she'll go along with their crazy antics, and she'll she's pretty cool.
So after this whole bonding session, we cut to Spud, who's taken Renton's walking advice a little bit too literal and has decided he wants to take up boxing. We get this little mental imagination of him as raging Spud, and it's in black and white. And he starts to work with the trainer on some pads, and he punches the trainer right into the face, and then he just gets clocked and knocked the fuck out. Boxing isn't for Spud. That's not where his addiction needs to go. And in a really nice, kind of memorable, heart-tugging scene, when he comes out of the boxing club, he steps right out into the street where we first met him and Renton in the first movie, doing that chase from the police.
Because there's two people running down the street, jogging, and he sees himself and marking those people. Again, the idea of the flashbacks and how they show how memories feel, just so dope.
The way they're shot as well, that they're seamless. Spud stood there in the past, and like the way, like it's 2 separate scenes, but it looks so seamless. Like just how it's shot, the editing around it is fantastic.
My least favorite like style of flashbacks in movies is the ones that just fucking feel like Family Guy cutaways.
Yeah,
You know, where like somebody does like a look and then
I
it
can't
cuts to a
stand
scene.
Family Guy for that.
Yeah.
It's just the worst kind of humor for me. Remember the time
Yeah.
when this happened? You know, it's like, all
And then
right.
it's nothing. No, a joke that had nothing to do with the episode. It's like, remember this time that the horse gave us Botox? And it's like, where? Huh?
we spoke about Alien Romulus last week, but where like characters who are not related to characters in other movies at all, who are saying the exact same lines.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, sometimes that can be good. Like sometimes I'll enjoy it, like in Star Wars, where they say like, I've got a bad feeling about this, you know? Like in Alien Romulus, so I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And this is just so well done. The nostalgia is the point of this, you know?
Yeah. And it's even during this scene where we get our first version of that somber, like, recreation of the song Born Slippy, which I really like. It, even just that version of the song, it just gets you thinking about everything, like the whole movie, everything before it. It's really nice. And Spud then makes his way to Gale's to collect some things and doesn't even get to see his son because his son is upstairs, and his son just watches him leaving the house from his window, doesn't come to say hi or anything. And then that's poor Spud's life basically summed up. His current situation is just summed up there by his son not even having that kind of connection to come down and be like, hi, Dad, or anything. He just doesn't care.
It's not like Bigby's relationship with his son. He just stares at him through the window. It's real sad. And also it's shocking in that, his son is growing up. Whereas in the beginning, when he's explaining how like he lost custody and he couldn't see his kid, he was a little kid. Right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, because there's a little quick shot as he's telling us that where he's like sliding down a slide with a small kid in like his memories, basically.
Yeah,
so now we see him as a grown.
how distant he is from his child, where he's almost no longer a child anymore. You know, he's like a late teenager at this point.
So from there, we see that the goods that he'd gotten from Gale were actually all just old photos, hundreds and hundreds of pictures of everyone in his life: Renton, Begbie, Gale, even Tommy's in a couple of pictures. The somber Born Slippy is playing, and he's pinning all of the photos around his apartment, all of the memories of his old life. There's like it's showing, and it's like behind the scenes pictures that were taken when they made the first movie. Like there's pictures, and it's all of that all around his apartment. It's such a fucking cool scene. It's really
I didn't
nice.
realize the reason why he was doing this until after the fact as well. Like, it's almost like a memory board for him, so then he can relive it and then write his memories down.
Remorse, yeah.
Which again, the Spud you see in the first movie probably wouldn't have done that. He'd nearly have sold the pictures he got to make. You know what I mean?
He would have burned them, you know. So he start a fire so he could light his joints or whatever.
But we don't get to spend a lot of time having nice moments with Spud, because then we cut back to Begbie prepping for another theft, and he wants Franco Jr. to come out, but he walks out in a shirt and a tie, and he doesn't want to do any stealing anymore, and that's clearly pissed off Begbie. And he gets pissed off and he gets up into Franco Jr.'s face, but Franco Jr. does not stand down. He kind of like angrily holds himself there to stand down his dad, and
he doesn't stand down, but he doesn't like fall to his level, right?
No, like he stands, like he's angry, but he's not like Begbie where he's going to pop off. He's just standing there taking the abuse, and Begbie's telling him, take a pop, go on, you get first shot. And there's so many people throughout my life as well, when they get to this angry, they're that kind of guys. Like, I want you to hit me so I can hit you first, or I can hit you back.
We've all dealt with these assholes.
But like we've said, Franco Jr. isn't anything like his dad. He might be pissed, he might be angry, but he's not that level of, for lack of a nicer word, he's not that level of a cunt. He's not going to pop off like Begbie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm using Begbie's words itself.
All of these little moments are so important for the development of these characters. So it's just such a well-written story. So like, because of this, it shows that you don't have to become your father, you know? Like, he's making the conscious decision not to pop off at his dad or chin him, and we get more into father-son relationships as the movie goes on.
And especially, I remember when we were talking about the first one, I was like, I'm very excited for you guys to see what happens with Begbie as well, because it is like, he's not just Begbie for the sake of being Begbie. He's Begbie because of his situation as well, and
His upbringing.
There's so
his
many
and
experiences.
what's passed down.
Yeah, there's
as well.
there's more dimensions to these characters in this film.
Yeah, yeah. Which again, you can take the first movie as the first movie, but this gives you that like these are real people. These are everyday real people. This is why they are the way they are, and this is what happens afterwards. This is why I love this movie as well. The second movie just as much as the first.
Robert Carlyle Beeston,
He's so
great.
good,
Just great.
very very good.
Yeah.
So we now get our last reintroduction of a character where cops show up at Simon's place and they need a lawyer, and a familiar voice starts to talk as they cut to this big law firm building. As they're speaking to Renton and Veronica, it is Diane from the first movie. She's all grown up as well, and she is a lawyer, and Simon's been caught blackmailing everybody that he's been messing around with all of the sex tapes. And
one guy, it's the guy from the beginning, I think, who's like, you were trying to extort him.
Yeah.
But when the cops came in, they'd found all of his with his fingerprints on it. That's what said.
Okay.
They get all his USBs are there, so he's basically been caught for the whole
and he's caught
scheme
with
at that
coke on
point
him as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it said there that the caught with the fingerprints, the coke is all there. There's even the bank connections. They've connected them to everything. So in the conversation, Diane asks Renton, "Are they still all taking heroin?" He says, "No, they've been clean." Then she starts to ask Veronica a couple of questions about if she could be identified by her face, tattoos, and then they mentioned basically the skin between your butt and your front.
Like a tattoo at the gooch.
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, you're not vajazzled then. All clear."
It's funny. Veronica has grown up to become the most...
Diane.
Sorry, Diane has grown up to become the most with it character of all of this. Yeah.
And she does agree that they'll be able to give Simon a legal defense. They kind of
she
show
figures it
Renton
all out for them. Yeah.
She's okay to defend Simon when in court, but he has to own up that he's been taking drugs and he'll take rehab for the cocaine.
Yeah.
And as Renton's leaving, Diane kind of hits him with a very awkward, given their past situation line. She looks to him and goes, "Mark, she's too young for you." And then Renton gives her a bit of a smile and just walks off.
And it's that's her saying that to her past self, basically.
Yeah. Like it's such a good line.
Or to his past self about her.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's
and
good.
It's nice just seeing Diane being.
I was hoping she'd be in it more, but that was just enough. You know, you get everything we need from her. Yeah.
Closure on her character. Yeah,
absolutely.
To see that she had succeeded and she had done well for herself. And you thought to yourself, part of me thought when I seen her reintroduced, I was like, oh no, is she going to get dragged back into their shenanigans or something like that? But it was nice. It was a very subdued appearance. And yeah, it was like, that's her scene. And yeah, that's all you need. Nice.
I think it's good that there was no, like, she didn't fall into shit over the 20 years because of their situation. She was just like, again, she was 15, I think is what we said she was. Like she was young.
God. Yeah.
She made a stupid young person mistake, and then the rest of her life went on like normal, unlink everybody else in the movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. She's the most adult person of a lot of them, really.
Yeah. And then from there, Renton decides that they want to get a loan to do with their business. They're going to like ask to get a loan, but pretend that the business is a genuine, clear sauna business. And after that, they've decided they want to bring Spud into the loop as well to try and get the brothel sauna business up and going. So they've given Spud a job.
Yep.
But peace and happiness in stories like this don't always last, because Simon is working in the pub, and in the worst disguise ever, most noticeable man of all time, Begbie walks in like a bucket hat and sunglasses.
Yeah.
And like anybody that lives in their town, if he walked into that pub and they seen him walking towards it, it'd be fucking Begbie.
Yeah.
It's just
everybody
him.
there would know him, but you know, yeah,
it's funny. It's another. He's Agent 47. He's got another disguise, and that just works.
I want to see a Robert Carlyle Hitman movie now, please.
Yeah. That'd be perfect. So Simon starts to feed him some kind of bullshit about how somebody he knows seen Renton living in Amsterdam only a few days ago, And Begbie obviously still fucking hates Renton. He's gassed up. He's like, yes, let's go to Amsterdam. Let's fucking get him. But for now, Simon has to push him off. He's like, we have to get it sorted. I have to get passports and then we'll go. So you need to lay low while I'm doing all of that.
Yeah, lay low for a few days.
Yeah. So he's just kind of pushing off the whole obviously fake story to go to Amsterdam to get Renton. And while that is happening, we get the Veronica and Renton scene where they're out having, I think, like a meal together. And they're shopping first. And then they go to have a meal, and it's here where Veronica's like, I'm not Simon's girlfriend, and I think that he's a bit of a shitty person. We slept together one time, and that was it. And while they're having
previously,
the meal,
Simon had been talking about how they had slept together more than once, and that Mark can't be with her, So this is again Mark being kind of a shitty friend, but not kind of, this is a betrayal again.
Yeah. First comes the opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, then comes the betrayal.
Oh yeah, so while they're having their meal, Veronica asks the question, what's Choose Life?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That Simon still says it, which I think is a nice thing. It's like he's kept the logo and the little, like, what is it?
He jumps right back
slogan
into it here. The slogan, the Choose Life, is still doing it.
So the whole quote is here and I have it, but also there's some weird stuff in here that I have to say because it's in the quote. It's like teary stuff that's mentioned in here. It's weird, but we'll get to it. Okay.
Okay. You gonna say it?
Because I'll read the stuff. Like it's there. It's not that bad. I'll do it. So he goes. This is important. This entire Choose Life monologue. It's important in both movies, and it's definitely important for Renton here. Because he starts it off as like laughing it off when she asks. She's like, "Oh, it was this stupid like anti-drug campaign that ran in the 80s, and so we chose it as our slogan as well at the time. So we might say, for example, choose designer lingerie in vain of hoping to kick some life back into a dead relationship. Choose handbags, choose high heel shoes, cashmere and silk to make yourself feel what passes for happy. Choose an iPhone made in China by a woman who jumped out of a window and stick it in your pocket of your jacket fresh from a South Asian fire trap. Choose Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and 1,000 other ways to spew your bile across people you've never met. Choose updating your profile. Tell the world what you had for breakfast. Hope that someone somewhere cares. Choose looking up old flames, desperate to believe that you don't look as bad as they do. Choose live blogging from your first wank to your last breath. Human interaction reduced to nothing more than data. Choose 10 things you never knew about celebrities who had surgery. Choose screaming about abortion. Choose rape jokes, slut shaming, and revenge porn, and an endless tide of depressing misogyny. Choose 9/11 never happened, and if it did, it was the Jews. Choose a 0-hour contract and a 2-hour journey to work, and choose the same for your kids and only worse. And maybe tell yourself it's better that they never happened, and then sit back and smother the pain with an unknown dose of an unknown drug made in somebody's fucking kitchen. Choose unfulfilled promise and wishing you'd done it all differently. Choose never learning from your own mistakes. Choose watching history repeat itself. Choose the slow reconciliation towards what you can get rather than what you always hope for. Settle for less and keep a brave face on it. Choose disappointment and choose losing the ones you loved. And as they fall from view, a piece of you dies with them until you can see that one day in the future, piece by piece, they will all be gone and there'll be nothing left of you to call alive or dead. Choose your future, Veronica. Choose life.
Holy shit.
So that was the whole thing. And it starts as a joke, like he's laughing it off, but then Renton obviously kind of clicks into something, and this is a deeper thing for him where he starts to spew out all of his hatred of the way the world is right now. And on this as well, especially compared to the first Choose Life that we get in, this is way deeper, and he's realizing life around him. This because the first one is just spatting out random shit that you want to choose, and drugs is always ahead of it. This is him focusing on what his life has become, what the world around him has become, the internet, fucking everything. And it's just way deeper than the first Choose Life. And I fucking love this one, even though there's some questionable sentences in there.
Well, yeah, it's just his take on current
It's just
life,
the way the internet is. Yeah.
I mean, they're not even like his thoughts. He's talking about how other people think,
Yeah. How, again, just how the world around all of us still is basically the same.
Yeah. It's great though, dudes.
And the performance when he's doing it is great as well.
Monologue's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Veronica's just like, whoa.
Yeah, like it really, like he's spewing down, and she's just like, "Damn, I like you." Like she's as impressed as we are. I have like a whole note there that covers other crap, but we basically said it. So now we get to
They fucking
Happier Times.
Yeah.
We have Spud first with the song Dreaming by Blondie as well. And he's upstairs working on the sauna. We've got him happy as can be. And yeah, Renton and Veronica are sleeping together.
It is lovely to see Spud getting to work, and like, because he was doing a construction job, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So they've got him in. He actually knows what to do, and again, we're seeing like the nice side of Spud. Is just like he's got these skills that he can do if he's given the chance.
And then on the flip side, we have Renton still being a piece of shit to Simon by sleeping with the girl he thinks he's in love with. Like Simon thinks he loves her, so
yeah.
Renton's just like, yeah, I had my little monologue. She's impressed. Let's get busy.
Let's go.
But one of my favorite scenes in this as well. There's a very subtle and effective way of showing that Spud, as he's doing his work, he's also cutting out clean and cold turkey from drugs again.
Yep.
And there's like one shot where he has a bag of heroin in a paper bag and he puts it in the middle of the room, and his shadow is like crouched or bent over to get it.
Take it, yeah.
While he himself physically is cowered into the corner writing notes onto his jotter pad.
I'd imagine this is like you can do that kind of stuff practically, right? There's a lot of projection work and shadow work in this where they could have used like CG, but like it just looks great. The whole
it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's great looking film.
And even like it's kind of the same as the cold turkey scene. It's a very it's a more subtle way of showing just how fucking difficult it must be to cut cold turkey away from drugs. And Spud's doing it a lot stronger than Renton did. So again, showing more like a change in Spud as a character of how like he's stronger than what Renton is. He's more capable of doing it, and it's maybe because he's already done it before. He said it, he cut clean before, and now he's doing it again. So maybe he's been through the cold turkey system before, where Renton hadn't have been in that first movie.
So Spud is building the sauna, basically.
Yeah, he's upstairs building the sauna. He's got some reflective wallpaper that looks really, really cool.
And he's got reflective tiles as well. That is
tiles. It's tiles, not wallpaper.
Tiles, yeah.
There's some other guys from the community, I guess. Some other guys he probably worked with. He's giving them work as well to bring them in. To help with it, which is nice.
Spud's just great. Spud's the best. After they'd slept together, then Renton and Veronica have a moment where Veronica kind of expresses a desire to go home, but she's not able to go home empty-handed. She wants to bring something to show for when she gets back home. And then business Simon and Renton show up to ask about the loans. So, Seb, you mentioned what they were and something to do with Brexit, but I didn't know anything because I have no idea.
It's like specifically. Let me see if I wrote it down. It's specifically like small business opportunity loan, and I think that was something that was part of the European Union. So we probably wouldn't be able to get that now. Yes.
No,
I was talking about the 1690 thing and how the parallel is Brexit was happening at the time, like and how when they went to go get their loans, the European Union flag is up, right?
Oh yeah.
That's what I was talking about. Okay,
because I thought when you mentioned the flags, like, he'd something written for this. Yeah, okay, yeah.
That was a thing. That's a thing. Yeah.
But they as we mentioned earlier, they're kind of selling this legitimate business, not going to be obviously what they are planning to do with it. And while that is happening, Spud and Veronica are having a little moment where Spud tells the story of how he managed to get 6 months in prison in the first movie, and because of him spending that time in prison, he learned that he had a secret talent, that he was able to replicate anybody else's signature.
It's very important.
Yes,
we know
very
we can
important.
do this. But that talent is not very useful these days with chip and pin and with just tapping your cards and everything and
online banking, everything like that.
Yeah. Just to go quickly back to Renton and I almost said Renton and Mark, Renton and Sick Boy selling their business idea to the council, right?
Yeah.
this is something that happened, like, whenever you look at stories of like addicts and stuff, like the lengths addicts will go to get that hit, and the lengths that these guys will go to con. It's like if they'd managed to funnel this skill set in the right direction, if somebody was there to lead them in the right path when they were younger, like, they're so capable of getting stuff done, you know? They don't have to be criminals, but that's just the easiest way, and they put all of their effort into becoming criminals, you know, into taking the criminal route, where they could have went a completely different way. And Renton falls right back into it. He escaped the life.
Yeah.
And then he'd lost his life in Amsterdam, and he's straight away. I thought there would be more back and forth, but he just falls right. It's almost like, you know how later we'll have like a drug relapse. He relapses right back into his old way of life by coming back to his old town, basically.
Which again could have a whole different, deeper meaning, because knowing my town, it's the same. There's been people that have gotten out and they're in my town as well. It's so small. It's like, oh my God, this person is doing this in this country, and like, oh, Colin is off in Australia. But when they come back, it's like they all seem to. It's like the small town mentality, which it seems like it's happening to, like, Renton here. He fell back in, and it's just like he's gone right back into the past, and it's just and he's surrounded by the same people.
I know so many people who found themselves by backpacking across Asia and Australia, and then they came back here and just straight back to their old jobs, living life exactly the same way. And I'm like, oh, it's the profound thing that you learn. Where is it? It's gone.
It's actually so much more relatable than you think. People go to all these lengths to try and like change, or they want to experience something new and fresh, and then they get that kind of like taste, and then either they continue on or they decide it's not for them, and then they just go back to square one, like back to the same peg as before. Like,
it is a sad scene. It's sad seeing it happen to people as well. Like, there's people I've grown up with where I've seen them. They've had great lives. They've been in Americas. They've been teaching in schools or whatever the hell. And then the minute they come back into town, it's like, they go back to being like 16 years of age, and they're stuck in the town. Then it's like, yeah, you had such a go, and like, what happened? You just came back because of whatever reasons, and then that was it. That's 10 to 15 years ago, and now they're still here. It's like, you were out. You made it. Like, what the fuck?
I'm always very jealous of people who got out of my city. You know, I'm like, it's tough here. People are so set in their ways. It's probably a good place to retire, but it's not a good place to grow up. I don't know. There's worse places.
For sure.
Yeah.
So from there, we get another very beautiful moment replicating the boys' journeys to the mountain with Tommy. In the first movie, a train pulls away from a station, and Spud, Renton, and Simon are stood on the platform. Spud has got some flowers, and they've come to the exact same spot. The Born Slippy song is playing again. Renton is reading a page that was written by Spud, explaining how Spud knew that Tommy was going to die because of the drugs, and that Spud expected this to be the same, and that Tommy couldn't do anything to save himself. Spud sharing his stories with his friends, and it's kind of sad. It's like, even in Spud's memories and through the whole heroin like addiction, he was able to remember watching and realizing that somebody in their friends group was dying in front of them. But Simon doesn't care. When Spud goes to put the flowers down somewhere, Simon kind of turns to Renton and says he doesn't feel anything, and he blames Renton for only showing up as a tourist in his own ute because he had a near-death experience and now he feels all fuzzy and warm. And then Simon digs the knife in a little bit deeper by reminding Renton that he was the one that sold Tommy his first hit, leading him to addiction, HIV, and dying. And it's here where we realize that Tommy was only 23 years old when he died.
Simon is really dissociates from the past. Like, it's not whatever, it happened, you know, just move on. It's like he won't allow himself to deal with it, whereas Renton's a lot more self-reflective of his past.
He called Renton out here. He says, this isn't a memorial. Like, you're not on a, he goes, you're not on a memorial. This was not, he says, this is nostalgia for you. He called him out. He says that, like, it's almost like because Renton wants to reflect or, kind of remember the other guy, because Simon's so disassociative, it's just, he thinks that it's just Renton wanting to revisit the old life that they had.
Yeah.
Where he genuinely wants to remember. And this is a nice little scene to actually remember a character who, in the first movie, like he was thereabouts with the guys, but yeah, it was just like, even though he wasn't as important as the four that we have in this, he was still prominent.
He was probably more important than Spud was in that first movie.
Oh yeah.
Also, it's very meta. Why are we making a sequel? It's not just fucking nostalgia bait. It's not for the sake of it.
I think that could be a meta commentary in itself. It's like, this sequel could be like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's after Simon has dug his knife into Renton that Renton decides he's going to bite back. He replies to, she'd be a woman by now, maybe kids of her own, but she never got that far, did she? Reminding Simon all about the poor baby who, of course, dies in the first movie. And this confirms the question that you guys had about the baby situation, where he says it, that like Renton directly called Simon her father, and like, you should have been there to protect her. That was your fault. You were too busy getting high to be paying attention to your own daughter. So like, that's why I left it up in the air for you guys to be like, the stakes and stuff, but the sequel confirms it fully that it was Sick Boy's daughter that had died in the first movie. They're mean guys.
I still don't know how they didn't get arrested for like child neglect. I don't know that. Anyway,
maybe nobody even found the baby. They never have.
Maybe they didn't know there was a baby.
Yeah. So tensions are starting to rise now between the boys again. They've had a little spat with each other. And they decide that when they get back home, they're going to go back onto heroin again. Both Renton and Sick Boy, they have like a projector showing the horses running in the back, and there's just a bunch of random like images
back on the
roaming
horse,
around. And there you go. Yeah.
Heroin is also called horse a lot too.
Yeah. But one person's left out. Spud's not taking his heroin.
He's very sad about it.
He's
looking at them like.
Yeah, he's in disgust. Very upset.
Yeah. Here's my moment to shine. Here's your Steve moment. 1 hour 13 minutes into the movie, we have like a very important scene where it gives us the impression that the guys are back on the heroin. This scene isn't actually set in reality. This is in Spud's mind. I feel this is Spud's whole kind of idea. It's his feeling of, probably because he's always been commenting how Simon and Mark grew up like closest houses, best friends. This is his consciousness of like feeling like the outsider of the three in that moment, and the fact that like they could always enjoy their time together. And he was always present, but he wasn't always a part of it. And and it's projected through the two of them, the implication that, they're using again. But no, none of this is actually real. Hence the visual imagery, the horses being projected, the way it's shot. It's like they're like underwater, isn't it? Sort of thing.
It
like
looks
the way the lighting is and stuff like that. I think it's a fantastic scene. But yeah, to not worry any of the audience, the guys have not relapsed after 20 years. It's a fantasy moment.
Oh, you don't think they have relapsed?
No, they haven't. No, he's right. Because the very next scene, they head out for a nightclub, and they had what he said, I think, is right. I think what Steve, that's why we call it a Steve moment.
Yeah.
That's why we call it a Steve moment.
But I thought the fact that they went out to the club afterwards is because they're so high.
No. Because think of it, right? When all right, you know what? I'll get to a point in this next scene, and then we'll dive into it, right? I'll get to it, but no, Steve, 100%. Yeah. Again, we love Steve moments. When he says shit like this, my entire skin's Steve, let's go. Yeah. But yeah, right, okay. To get to it, they do head out to a nightclub after, and at the same time preparing to go out to the nightclub using some Viagra found in his hiding den. Begbie is heading out at the same time. So it's about to kick off. We've only got about, I think it's 35 minutes left in the movie. This is what I consider the start of the final act, because it goes from here, and this is all of our like I said at the start, all of our threads are starting to twist into each other now. All of our stories start to become 1 to 2 storylines instead of every character has their own, right? So, needing to use the toilet, Renton in the nightclub decides he wants to go out into the nightclub's toilet, and there's a disgusting toilet there that's like a replica of the shitty fucking disgusting toilet from the first movie. And if he was high, he'd have just, because he wouldn't have given a shit. But he goes, fuck that, I'm going into a clean toilet. Right?
Okay, yeah. I see where you.
So like it's like Steve's gone the hard part, and the very easy part, like the subtle part, is like the shitty toilet.
This is why I love watching movies like twice, because like on a first watch, I'm always so. I take things at face value, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is why I love discussing this shit as well, because like, no, that makes sense.
And if anyone in the comments doesn't agree, that's okay too. That's totally fine. If you take it in a more literal sense.
It's all interpretation at the end of the day, but no, I think that completely fits. Like, that makes sense.
So he sits into his cubicle, and Begbie, who has managed to pull a woman, decides he needs to use the toilet before sealing the deal, because he needs to go in there and take his blue pills to get little Begbie to come on,
he is start doing these like Tic Tacs, by the way.
he's throwing him back.
Yeah,
I love how it's shot in the stalls, where it's like the use of like how the stalls split right down the middle.
With the dividing wall.
The poster for Trainspotting was them all in different toilet stalls, right?
Yeah,
for Trainspotting 2.
Yeah. So as we've mentioned, the two of them have somehow managed to sit into the cubicles beside each other, and Begbie drops his tablets and they slip in under and they go into Renton's cubicle, and he takes the piss out of them.
All Mark had to do here was not be an asshole.
Yeah.
But of course, can't not do that, needs to take the piss a little bit and be like, oh, we're going to have an exciting night today, and they have a little bit of a fuck off, fuck you cunt. And then the most perfect shot, the dividing wall in between, and the two of them at the same time. Dawn, wait a minute, who the fuck is that beside me? So Renton starts to cower away again, because he thinks who's beside him is Begbie.
He's
Begbie
going
climbs over.
He's moving himself as far away from the wall as possible, as if he thinks that Begbie's gonna like smash through the wall, you know?
Foreshadowing.
And Begbie, of course, sees him. God! And then it freezes him. The whole thing is shot in like this blue tint as well. It's so beautiful, fucking good.
This movie, more than any movie I think I've seen, Danny Boyle was constantly using freeze frame just to stay on a frame for just a few seconds more than natural, you know?
Yeah.
And it's done throughout.
Yeah.
I've always seen people complain about it, but I actually don't mind it.
No, I like it, but I can understand why people. It is almost like it's like you go and stop. You go and stop. You know, it is a bit of a stall, so I can see why people maybe dislike that. But yeah, no, it's constantly used in the same way that you can maybe use like slow motion to just like make the scene impact a bit more, and you pay more attention to what's on the screen. You know.
Slow motion. Who uses slow motion? Have we mentioned any directors slow motion on the podcast a couple of times before?
We will. You guys know I like zombie movies, right? There's a zombie movie by a director who loves to use slow motion. We might get to eventually. Yeah. I
had to do a little bit.
Zack Snyder is not the only person who's ever used slow motion.
No, he's not, but he's the one that everybody shits on because he does it. He overdoes it.
Oh my god, the fucking Rebel Moon corn shots are just the worst.
I seen one of them on Twitter yesterday. It was questionable though.
It's not questionable, it's just straight up bad. Me as a Zack Snyder apologist in the past, like Rebel Moon is just the worst movie. It's just so shit. Okay,
he's coming around, guys. He's coming around.
I'm sorry to derail. I was just trying to make a point about the still frames. You brought this on.
It's okay. Look, we will talk about Zack Snyder at some point. The chase is on. The chase is on, right? We're back. The chase is on. Renton's broke away, and they've chased right past Simon, who's waiting for Renton outside of the bathroom, into a car park, and it's turned into a game of hide and seek, where Begbie he's pulled a knife, he's revealed he's got a knife, and he's ready to stab Simon, but Renton, I should say. Renton is hiding behind the car, and Simon rings him, and his phone is on loudspeaker, and he gives away his hiding spot. and they have this like Western standoff in the car park where it's shot on Begbie's hand holding the knife.
I almost imagined
down.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, when Begbie pulled out the knife, I was like, oh, he's still carrying it. You know,
Yeah.
and it comes from behind his back, like it's the exact same way.
And the fact he brought it into the nightclub again, he brought the knife. It's still Begbie. It's still the fucking same guy that was
because the knife
pulling
is
knives on everybody.
It's his penis. You know, his penis doesn't work. He's got the knife will work. You know.
But as they stand out and have their little Western moment, a car pulls out, drives by, and Renton climbs on top of the car and tells him to go, 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 go. While Begbie's chasing him, going down some stairs, and he slashes at Renton's arm, cutting him on his like shoulder. It looks like it's gone from like his shoulder down to like his elbow. He gets a good slash, but we never get anything to do with that.
I was
afterwards.
thinking that would make him fall off the car, you know, because he was holding on to it. But
yeah. The car pulls out of the car park, but like breaks as it comes out. Renton falls off the top and recreates the opening scene of the first movie where he lifts himself up, puts his hands onto the bonnet and just smiles and laughs
and runs.
And then runs away.
Yeah.
I was like, just get in the fucking car and drive.
Yeah.
You know, I thought he was going to do a Grand Theft Auto moment, you know, something.
And all of this excitement has got little Begbie to finally stand up for Begbie.
Yeah.
All of his Viagra's worked and all the excitement.
It's like, what the fuck?
It worked.
Got the blood pumping. You know
in.
what? Like, we've seen that Simon can run in this movie, right? He's very fit. Not Simon, fucking Mark, right?
Renton.
He's very fit. I could not imagine that Begbie could have chased him this far.
I was impressed by
adrenaline.
Yeah, maybe the pure rage.
Yeah, the want to just get fucking Renton.
Yeah.
Not in a sexual way. I said want like that, and then I was like, wait, that sounds weird.
I mean, maybe in a sexual way. You saw it was in his pants.
Well, yeah, that's true. So we do get the morning after where Simon confesses to Renton. The morning after. I actually have that written well here. It's like the morning after question mark. I didn't know if it picked up, but the morning after, Simon does confess to Renton that he knew that Begbie was looking for him and that he'd protected Renton. But the trouble's not done yet because a black van pulls up and demands the two lads to get in. It's Mr. Doyle that we mentioned earlier that runs his own sauna.
Yes, he picks them up and takes them to the woods.
Yeah. And he's like, there's shovels there.
There's
and it looks
shovels,
like they would be burying
them.
themselves, but they didn't because they're not covered in any mud. Instead, they're just stripped naked and made run back home where they have to get to a farm to cover themselves.
Naked walk home, yeah. So Doyle is, just to explain that a little bit, Doyle is the guy who owns all of the saunas, the brothels in the area, and he's mad that these two are encroaching on his territory, basically, you know?
Yeah.
So he's trying to scare them into, basically they can't open up the sauna because they'll get killed.
No.
That's the message that Doyle is sending them. And then he sends them off naked and afraid.
Yeah.
Yes. And they make it back to Veronica's house. And even though they've been warned off about making the businesses, Veronica has good news for them. They've managed to get their loan, and the amount is 100,000 Great British pounds.
Yep.
Yes, 100K.
Yeah, 100K. That's a big amount of money for people that were basically all hating each other over 16 to 20K.
It's a big amount of money for two ex-junkies to, one's still a junkie, to blag. Yeah.
And it's here then where Spud gives us probably the most important line of the movies. First, there's an opportunity, and then there is a betrayal. Because as they're celebrating their money, there's like shots of both Simon and Renton kind of staring at each other. And then Simon doesn't want to share the money with Renton. He wants his revenge. He's telling Veronica, he's like, he stole my fucking money. Why should I give him any of what we've just got? And then Renton is also telling Veronica that like he doesn't owe Simon anything. So he wants all the money as well. So basically, the two guys that have bonded back together are ready to fucking fuck each other over again this massive sum of money again. Two pieces of shit still. And then Spud heads out.
It's better though, isn't it, as well? Because it's telling the story of the original one. This is how it worked. Yeah, and
you love that meta shit. I do. And when I was rewatching this the second time last night, I was like, oh my god, there's going to be so many moments of like, they're talking to us, aren't they? They're talking to us.
Yeah, it's like they're talking to us.
Yeah. I just love when that shit happens.
Wait a second. Do you love, what's that movie with the rabbit and young Jake Gyllenhaal?
Donnie Darko, yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Maybe I'm learning stuff about myself
is
here.
having his schizophrenia moments while watching these
love
films
Donnie
late at
Darko.
night, and no sleep as well.
6 o'clock in the morning, I was sitting here by myself being like, whoa, he said something to all. And then the rabbit was on my couch
line, and it's going into the TV that you're watching.
Yeah.
I've not watched that movie since I was a kid. I did not understand it at all. I need to go back and watch it at some point.
It's definitely a movie that, like, you watch it the first time and then you try to convince everybody you get it, but you don't get it. You need to watch it a few times. I'm learning.
Future choice,
yeah,
maybe?
I like these things. 100%.
Maybe
but
future Beck's choice.
Yeah, it'll be down the line. It'll be down the line. I do like Donnie Darko a lot.
Yeah.
So from here, Spud's heading out because he wants to give Veronica his first draft of the book, because earlier she told him he should be writing. He'd tell his stories, and he'd make a very good writer. And when he comes back home, his door is left ajar, and he's got himself a visitor. Begbie's broken into Spud's place, and he's telling Spud to not even ask who he's talking about. He already knows. He just wants to know where he is. And then he asks Spud, without even letting Spud answer, if Spud is still a junkie. Spud says, no, I'm not, but Begbie doesn't believe him, starts to belittle him and mock him, and then starts to ask, what's all these notes? What are all these fucking things on the wall here? And then Begbie pulls a page from the wall after seeing the line, strolling through the meadows on it, because he clearly knows what this story is. And he's been told by Spud that Spud never wrote about Begbie, but he knows from that line that this story is something he remembers. So he tells Spud he wants him to read it to him. And when Spud starts to tell the story, it's about how all of the gang were in a busy pub during a festival season, and they were all taking cocaine and they were ready to head to the next show. And then he kind of freezes up because he knows he's to mention Begbie. And then he's like, fucking tell me. So he kind of softly says, Begbie's pissed his jeans.
You really feel frightened for Spud here.
Yeah. And his facial expressions this entire time as well. Terrified.
He's the best. These two are the best. Whenever they're on screen together, it's just great.
Surprisingly to Spud, and I think for an audience, Begbie laughs it off and he goes, oh, I remember that night. Read it on.
It's just this relief that you get.
Yeah. And Spud continues telling the story about how some guy wouldn't hand over his wallet to Begbie on that night, and then Begbie decided he was going to draw the knife on the guy, and the guy is like, you're not going to use that, and he did. And then there's like a quote in Spud's writing where it's like, all the blood mixed with the piss. And then when he says that, Begbie's like,
loves that.
That's fucking great. Yeah, you're good, right? You keep doing this. Like, he loves the story. And I think that's such a good line as well. The blood mixed in with the piss.
And yeah, Begbie just loves it. And Begbie loves how he's almost like this mythical character, in his stories. And he starts to act it out, doesn't he? He's like,
he starts like jabbing when he says he's stabbing him. So then Spud then begins to tell us the story of the glass getting thrown over the shoulder that we seen in the first movie, where Begbie threw the glass. It lands down on the woman, and then Begbie goes down doing that, who threw that glass? And he's reenacting it again as Spud's telling it, like he's living it up. He's like, these, like Seb's just said, he's the fucking hero in this story. He's the greatest guy in the fucking story.
Yeah.
But then poor Spud, he might be like enjoying the hype of the story because he starts to read the story. He probably shouldn't have read to Begbie about the night that Renton had stole the money from everybody and how Renton felt only guilt for Spud.
Yeah.
And that's how Begbie finds out that Renton had left Spud some money after stealing. That's the first time Begbie knows that there was money left for Spud.
Yeah. And the way the way Spud writes about himself, he's almost writing about himself as if he's a baby. It's weird, isn't it? It's like,
which is the way his character was in the first
like
movie.
Renton is like the father almost. Like Renton loved Spud. It's odd. It is also all of this writing. This writing is on like the same yellow paper that he wrote his suicide note on at the beginning. As well, right?
Yeah. the face that Spud makes then when Begbie walks down like the hallway away from him when he gets pissed off, that face. Every time I watch this movie, it's like it's one of the most terrified faces I've ever seen anybody pull in a movie, and it's not a fucking horror movie. Like his face just dropped, and like we said earlier, he's like very frail looking, and he's pure terrified of Begbie and what he's about to do.
Yeah.
And then we get another flashback to the conversation that Renton and Veronica were having when they slept together, as he explains to her that like the lad should have expected me to steal the money. I'd have expected the same from them. At the time, they'd been stealing from everybody, friends, family, everybody around them, and friends were only one more class of victim to them, so they should have expected him to have been stealing the money.
Mm-hmm.
And while all the Spud stuff is happening, Veronica has been reading Spud's book. And in between here, we're getting like a lot of quick cuts. There's like a little moment between Renton and Simon where Simon openly tells Renton is like, "Oh, I knew you took the money and I was mad, but I kind of came to a realization like, of course you took the money. Why wouldn't he?"
Yeah.
So it's like him confirming as well.
That's just the kind of people they were. Oh, hello, Enzo.
Hello, Poocho.
Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Pooch.
So from here, another thread is starting to cross over here where Veronica is coming to see Spud to tell him some notes on his book. But on arrival, Spud is terrified and is telling her, don't come in, trying to shoo her away. But Begbie comes in just as she's arrived. And after a bit of a gross interrogation moment from Begbie where he's getting a little too close and personal, being a bit gross, he basically says, "Yeah, give me your phone. If you've got a phone, give me your phone." So he's going to use her phone to lure both Simon and Renton into a trap. But the only way she gave up the phone is if Begbie would agree to let her and Spud go because she has a plan for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's from here that like the movie just keeps going. This is the end now. It's from here. We're basically at the end of the movie. There's a bit here, but it's the ending part.
The train's almost at the last station, guys.
Basically there. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. So Veronica's phone messages both Renton and Sick Boy, telling them to meet them at the pub at midnight.
I think this is when I thought this was the moment when they both realized that they're both after the same girl, right? Because both their phones go off at the same time, but it's actually the next scene when they realize when they get to the pub. Together.
We do, however, get one huge story before all of this kicks off that is important for Begbie. After letting Spud and Veronica go, he's looking through some of Spud's notes and he finds one. The lads, it's written, I've like it kind of code, but a little bit cuts out. Just the lads had went for a piss by the old train station. Spud, Begbie, and Renton. An old drunkard who Begbie had been staring at comes up to the lads, wine bottle in hand. "What are you up to, lads? Trainspotting," he says as he starts laughing. Spud noticed that Begbie, unlike himself, had been very subdued and uncomfortable the entire time. It was only in that moment that Spud had realized that the drunkard had been Begbie's father the entire time.
Was that guy? It wasn't Robert Carlyle. It was just a guy who looked. It was Robert Carlyle.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering.
Which, of course, is giving us a whole layer very quickly on Begbie's past and his own relationship with his dad, and more reasons of why he probably turned out to be exactly how he's been in these two movies.
Has a good self-realization moment where he goes and this then leads him to go and make peace with his son, right? Because of like him reading this back. And this is like, for a moment you see that Begbie isn't just a completely evil piece of shit. He is an evil piece of shit, but he's also like there's one bit of light in him, and that's the possibility that his son could be better than him, you know? That's the one good thing that he's brought into the world.
In that scene, there's like when he goes to see his own son, there's like two sentences that I think are really, really good. He turns to his missus that's there, and it's like, "The world changes, June, even if we don't."
Yeah.
And I can fully connect that to my own parents. My own parents can and be like, you know, the world is very different from when they grew up. They're not with at all. They're very uneducated on the loads of different things that are in the world now and the way people are, and la 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 la. And that sentence, I could imagine my own dad kind of saying it. I could just imagine him that he gets that he's not up to date with how everything is and how the world changes and how people react to everybody else now. So I could see him in there, and then he himself, when he's giving his last little speech to Franco Jr., he's like, the old wino was my father. This fool is yours. You'll be a better man than either of us. And then he goes to shake his hand, but Franco Jr. wants to give him a hug. Janko Fett. It's like one moment of entire like 2 movies where Begbie's a human.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a realistic one. Like I said, I can see it in my own parents. There's like so many things where you're trying to tell them, it's like, yeah, this is like, you know what I mean? You're trying to help them, but they can't entirely understand it either because it's not what they grew up knowing or understanding. So,
at some point,
I can see
maybe we're gonna get there, right? We're turning 30. You just kind of stop managing to keep up with the changes in the world.
Yeah,
people become more conservative. I don't mean that like politically, but in like thought. You kind of you get more stuck in your ways. It's it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks kind of thing.
Yeah. The best way to, like, again, I don't have kids, but the best way to do it is always try and teach your own kids the better version of what you learned, because you always get passed down beliefs and la la la's from your own parents and your grandparents and whatever. So it's always just. It's something I've always thought about. It's like when I grow up, I'd like if I have kids in the future, whatever, I'd like to be able to cut out some of the, like, not to say that my parents are pieces of shit or anything. No, I'm not saying that either. But they're very backdated, and to try and cut out some of the stuff that they would have taught me that was wrong. I'd like to be able to do the same for my kids, like some of the stuff that I understand myself.
Make it better, right?
Yeah. I'd like if I had kids, I'd like them to be more educated than I am. That's basically the best way on every kind of aspect of life. I'd rather they be more educated than even I am.
That's lovely, man.
It's something I think about. Like again, I'm not shitting on my parents. They're not like racist or terrible or anything like that. They're very stuck in older ways. And there's even times where me and Callum would be like, oh, we should try and teach them, like, this is what this is like now. And I'd like, if in the future, to not have an issue where my kids think, hey, my dad is like stuck in 2016 or 2020.
I wonder if like, your parents and my parents, I wonder if like they thought the same thing though, and it just happens. It just happens as some people get older, right? Like,
totally okay if you don't answer, but like, how old are your parents?
Oh, my parents are, my dad's 67.
Okay.
My mum's 65.
Oh, wow.
Okay, mine would be in their I'd imagine 50s. Steve? Ages?
I think my dad is 58 now. My mum would be 55.
Yeah, 50. Yeah,
yeah.
I'd like to, like,
my parents kind of grew up during like the hippie movement was a thing, right? So like they are quite open people, which is it's very good for me, Different
cultures as well, because like your family, by the sounds of stories you tell us, are like way broader than mine. Where mine, and I don't know what Steve, your parents, like backgrounds and stuff were like, but mine are just born in Ireland, moved to England, came Ireland, die in Ireland. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's
to get off that island.
There's no brother in us. And I don't know, like, if Steve will back me on this, but I know from personal experiences with just family members and older people, Ireland is not the most educated and open. Yeah.
Well, the they're very stuck I live is extremely close-minded, and it's extremely, like, there's not many people here who look like me or different from each other, right? Because I was like one of the only mixed race kids growing up here. Like, I'm very fortunate that I'm quite well traveled, and my parents are extremely well traveled, and not through money, just through like circumstance and spending any money, and we do have on like the opportunity to go somewhere, not jet setting across the world, like I'm going to Amsterdam very cheap next month, cheap as flights, staying with a friend. I'm only taking a backpack, right? And I'm very fortunate that I've managed to escape and get out. Even though I come back, I can keep the things I learned with me. And I spent like a period of my life growing up in other countries too. So coming back and seeing like, I've got a friend who I love, and he's awesome, but he's so like, he's never really left like the county very often, and he's just like, isn't this the best place? And I'm like, dude, like, it's almost like nice that you think like that, because there's so much else to the world, you know, that you don't understand that you're missing out there. And I constantly crave the travel and the exploration, and you know, sometimes I wish I was more of like the kind of guy who just like be happy with what he's got here. And often I do try to be happy with what I have, and you know, I think I am, but you know, there's always this yearning for more. I forgot where we were even started, how this happened. But,
Hey, we have these moments, these chats. I wish I was like the homebody that's happy to be homebody. Before COVID, I remember very vividly. Bit of a nice story. Me, my best friend Aaron, and his recently passed away brother Ryan, and one of our friends went to see a Man United game in Manchester, and like legit, as somebody that basically has cabin fever from this town, I could get into very deep shit about how I just hate where I live. Even just getting to Manchester is like, I basically seen a wonder of the world.
you see different races and ethnicities, and there's like different people of different backgrounds. Manchester's just so multicultural. It's so awesome.
I even say this when I went to Dublin, like I said last week, and I even say this every time I go to Dublin. It's kind of sad to say, but it's how I feel. I love feeling invisible in big places. Right? When I go into Dublin, I can walk into crowds of thousands of people, and nobody gives a fuck that I'm there. But if I'm in, my town is very small. The minute I go up there, how's your mom? How's your dad?
I'm the same. I can't walk the dog without bumping into people who know me, you know.
and I like, sorry if anybody listens from town, because I know there's a few townies that know me that have me listen. I hate it so much, because it's like I come out of the house, I go to do whatever I'm doing, I go for like a walk up the town, whatever, and it's like somebody's putting me back into my bubble. It's like, oh look, you're still in the town, you're still with this person around you.
Bex,
so anytime I get somewhere like Dublin,
so hard to this.
We did this. I'm not going to get mad deep and did it in stream. I just cabin fevered myself into this town, and it's depressingly sad. Like we mentioned earlier, with the amount of people that like I'd have gone to school with. I'm out of school 12 years now, and there's people that I went to school with that have never left this town, where when I grew up I remember thinking they're amazing, they're like, they're the coolest shit, they're going to make it in life, they're definitely going to do it.
There's a lot of that.
And then I go into a pub on a Saturday and he's sitting there every Saturday since he left school, and I'm just like, oh, that's kind of sad. Like, you know, what happened to everybody in this town?
By the way, I gotta get a little deep. Pandemic, stuck inside, and also like I've wanted to move away, but circumstance, you know, like family members being ill and having to look after them, and be in this place. As much as I want to escape, stream and the internet and having a community and building something, and connecting with people from all over the world, that's really like helped me so much to get past this mental block that I was in, where it was just so depressed to be here, you know? Stream, friendship, and dogs. Like my Enzo, and you know, I've got a nice relationship with my parents, but like, you know, sometimes you just want to go away and like get out of there. But like, just being able to lose myself in the online world, and it just made the world feel a little bit more open for me. That's helped so much. So thanks everybody who's part of that. Thanks you guys for being part of that. And Enzo really helps me just like see the world through different eyes as well. Like I'll be walking in the same streets that I walked down as a kid, and normally I'd fucking hate it, but now I'm like, oh, but Enzo's loving it, he's wagging his tail, so I'm happy.
Yeah, he's happy.
Yeah.
Not to drag you into the somber conversation, Steve, but I'm actually curious when it comes to you, because not to dox you either, you live in a bigger kind of feeling area than where I do. Do you ever get like this?
I just don't go outside.
Hey, that's totally fair too. Fuck being out there.
Yeah, no, like it's the exact same situation as you lot. That's why I think I've come to a realization now, like with my current, like with my studies, and when I get time away from studies, I just want to make any time I have free. I want to be like I want to just go and see, because where we are in our 3 places in the world right now. We're only like we're only small little like grains of sand, like, and there's so much out there to see, and I do want to see it rather than look back on it in 20 years time and say, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that, that kind of stereotypical way.
Absolutely.
Hence why next year, big road trip, I have the car, I'll pick you two up.
Yes!
We'll just go fucking nuts.
Oh, we could do Diary of the Dead, guys. We could
yeah, we could do our own diary of cruelty.
We'll
it would be sick, actually. But
this is definitely us, as I said at the beginning. Coming into our 30s already. In our 30s, this like they say people have their midlife crisis around this time because, like, in the way you see the world, time speeds up once you get past 25, right? So the world, it was very slow to get to that point, and now it's very fast. So I keep losing myself. I'm so tired, guys. I'm on like 4 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep.
We're nearly there.
To bring it back, this is Renton's feeling coming back to his hometown as well. Like he made up that lie about having kids and stuff like that.
Being happy and all that. Yeah. Where in truth, he was not happy. He was on the brink of being divorced. It's kind of like, and to follow up your point, the way when you're in such a small, close-knit community, if you go away and do come back after like a certain amount of time, people around just have a habit of just looking upon that as like, oh, you failed, or oh, you're back again, are you? Oh, I guess things didn't work out for you, and then that's put on top. That exacerbates everything.
And it's like my fucking museum story. You're still here.
Yes,
it's so brutal.
Yeah.
But again, to feel the personality, I haven't left town, but I remember people that had come back into town to be like, asking me what I'm doing and stuff. And I remember for years and years telling people like, I did this and I did this. I've been amazing things.
Yeah.
And to jump onto Seb's point, when I started streaming, I remember one night out, I went out, and one of my old best friends from school, he used to work in Dubai teaching. He's been traveling the world. And he came back, and he genuinely was the first person that pulled me up and was excited about hearing that I was streaming. He was like, I've heard you've gotten really into doing all that streaming stuff. You used to love games in school, and like, how's it been going? I was like, it's like I'm small time, but it's like genuinely one of the most fun things. And this guy was like, again, America, Dubai, fucking crazy places teaching, and he was more excited about my streaming than telling me any story about what he was doing. And you know what I mean? Like, it was so comforting to just be noticed, even though he was obviously the one that made it. That kind of that's crazy.
The thing about like streaming stuff is like, because we're all at like a similar level, and we're all have like kind of a shared communities at this point as well, where I don't think I can really talk about this with other people, but if somebody asks you if you're streaming, this is another thing, or like what you do, and you say, oh, well, I'm doing this. And they're like, oh, so you must get like millions of views then. And it's like, no. And then they're like, oh, well, what the fuck are you doing then? It's like, it's really brutal, but it's very hard to keep. It's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and we're very lucky to have like people who come back every day, or every few days, and like to build a community and to keep things going and keep people into what you do, and to, again, it's all relationships that you're making, and people on the outside just don't get that at all. That can be quite rough whenever I'm trying to explain that to somebody.
It's the same. I know your mom, Seb, is like she's in streams and stuff and whatever.
Yeah,
like she's involved.
Yeah.
If I even slightly tried to have a conversation with my mom and dad about, oh my god, I sit in my sitting room for a couple hours playing games, and people online come and watch me play a game and they talk, my dad would instantly be like, why don't they just buy the game themselves? Yeah. Like, why don't they just fuck off and play it themselves?
It took years, dude. It took years to get to this point where like my dad still doesn't know really what I do. He's got like an idea. My mum just decided to watch one day. You know, she might even be listening to this at some point in the future. You
Hi,
know,
spooky mom.
Spooky mom.
She just decided to watch one day, and she got it. For the longest
Yeah.
time, she didn't get it. She thought I was just wasting my time, you know, and like it didn't mean anything. But she's like, she now knows who you guys are. She knows who it's to her. It's like a cast. All the people who partake in the chat, you know, they're as much a part of it as me on the screen, you know, like
that's the amazing side of it, where some people will unfortunately won't understand it and will downplay it. I know you two can relate to this as well. Like, how many times have you had conversations with people that would say something along the lines of, "Oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could stream like you guys do. I would love to try it," sort of thing. That like you're so you're putting yourself out there. You're fearless. You're kind of like.
I think that's why a lot of people will put us down as well, because that happens a lot too. Because it's almost a bit of a jealousy. It's like
they can't do it, or
because it does take a lot to put yourself out there and hope that you're not just going to get shat on. you know?
I know that I've seen big streamers talk about this, and I've seen people in our numbers talk about it, like somebody coming up and being like, "Oh, streaming is just turning on a game or a camera and then just doing what you do." Anyway, it is a lot more than that. Especially like even the other night, whenever this will come out, it'll be like a week ago. Me and Seb were playing games and talking about videos and edit. Like Seb was talking about the work he puts into editing, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like it's a lot more than just I'm going down and turn on a camera and a game and stream. Like you need to be ready. You need to spend hours like entertaining. You know,
that's it. In fact, somebody actually specifically said, "Oh, that's easy. These are rookie numbers. You only stream 5 hours. What are you doing?" It's like, I've been editing for 6 hours before this, and then I had to watch a movie and make notes, and like I've been up all night, like cutting clips out, and now I'm putting myself out there. And I don't know, like you guys don't use the webcam as well. Like when you, I think that's another step. Not you know, not about it. You know, like it's when your face is constantly on the screen. It's like you can't even look away or look at your phone without somebody knowing that you're not fully engaged in that moment. You know, that's also tough.
I've been bullied for years since I've been streaming for like 3. I've been bullied for years about why don't you do. I have the biggest anxiety attack every time I even Google a camera. Like the thought, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm like 4 years in, and still I have to like hype myself up before pressing that go button. Like I'm lucky that I've got this amazing opening that Sean made the music for, you know, like and that I know I have a minute and a half between pressing that and saying hello to everybody. It used to be a lot worse. It's getting better with time, but like. Okay, la 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 la. Okay, do this. People are about to see me. I got to jump straight into it. I was going to say, introduce myself. Seb? You know, it helps. Well, not according to I'm very lucky. Lovely people say nice things about me, so thank you. I try to ignore the nasty things that I said. We do have a nice bubble among the 3 of us, to be fair. We do.
I think it helps that we just kick out all the bad eggs if we ever come across them.
I'm inspired now because I actually have the same green screen as you, Seb. Actually, I remember asking you about which one you bought.
Oh, that was ages ago. I forgot about that.
I know. I still have it, and I have a webcam. I just literally one of these days I need to just.
We even had that chat. That's wild.
I need to grow some big balls, big cojones, and just one day just hook it up and just be like, right, let's do it. Let's do it.
If anybody's wondering, it's the Elgato. It was pricey. It was like an investment I made into stream, but it is fantastic. It stands by itself.
And now I have the space. In my living room to actually deploy. Like,
you need space because it's like 1.5 meters or something. Maybe it's 1 meter. It's quite a long thing on the floor. But it's real good. And you need lighting set up too. Like
exactly.
You need controlled lighting. This is why I boil because I stream in the attic. So in the summer, and because it's bloody September now, and it's still super hot for some reason. I have to close my window, and I've got blackout. I don't have blackout curtains. I made my own blackout curtains by painting the fucking curtains black. So the heat just gets trapped in here, so I can use the green screen.
16 degrees here now today. Oh boy.
I'm gonna walk the dog after this. What's the temperature? Is that all right?
17 for me right now.
Oh, nice. I love a 17. Give me a 16, 17. That's perfect. I don't need any hotter, any colder. That's just it.
So just the right temperature. Right.
Gone deep. We get back into the movie. We're back in the movie.
We're on the final stretch here, aren't we?
Quickly before we get into final stretch, can we just take one more break? Because I really need to pee.
Let's take one more break.
Okay,
Right, let me press this button.
Thank you.
Boom. Hello, we're back.
We're back. Okay, we're back.
I let you guys know this time. I didn't click it and then wait.
For anybody listening, I desperately needed to pee, so we need to take a break there. So sorry about that.
They know you already said this like a second ago. It's okay.
Well, now you're double dosed on me peeing. There you go.
Remember,
I peed. So we'll get back into the plot. Simon shows up to the pub, but Renton's already sat waiting for him. The booming music is building in the background. They know they've been baited into the pub, and like Seb mentions earlier, the two of them realized that they were both texted the same thing by Veronica. So that means both of them have been messing around with her, I guess. Like they both had a bit of a relationship.
They both know that Renton has been.
Yeah. And they realized they've been baited into the pub as well. That she's not here, so she's obviously not coming. And Spud rushes into the pub to warn the two of them that they have to get upstairs, that Begbie is on his way. But Spud's too late because Begbie has already been in the pub and has no intentions of letting anybody leave. Mm-hmm. As Spud catches the lads up on the story, Begbie asks, "How does it end?" And Spud depressingly replies, "In a box, Franco." Mm-hmm. And then he replies to him, "That's right. We're all in a box, just waiting for the lid to come down." And he drops the bag onto the floor that's full of weapons.
Earlier, there was a scene when Begbie and Sick Boy were making a plan to go to Amsterdam to jump Renton, right?
Yeah.
Sick Boy is obviously making it up, but Begbie is like, "Oh, and I'll get a passport and I'll take a bunch of weapons." And Sick Boy's like, "I think we can get weapons in Amsterdam." He's like, "Oh yeah, they have those kind of things there in Amsterdam." It's like, yeah, I've known these exact kind of guys, never traveled. That's what they're like. Oh, they've got that
there. Begbie clocks Simon and knocks him out, hits him, knocks him out, and when he does, Renton makes a dash to go upstairs. Yep. All the windows upstairs have been bolted shut, so he has to hide in Spud's reflective room that he's built as part of the sauna. We've got some different kind of soft music starting to play in the background as Begbie tells Renton that he's killed the man before for doing nothing but looking at him wrong in a time that he was thinking about Renton.
Yes.
And he killed him then. Renton tells him a story how he remembered his first day in primary school, and we're getting these like really quick shots of the two kid versions of Renton and Begbie on either side of the wall as the conversation is going on, and how a teacher sat them together and basically how they bonded right away. And that's showing that Begbie was a little bit older because he'd been kept back, but it shows that they even knew each other since they were small, the same way that Renton and Simon had known each other. Begbie starts to tear down the walls with a sledgehammer, and the music starts building up the whole way during this. Like it's tense, and then there's this like techno booming like going on in the back, and he pokes his head into the wall, kind of like Jack Torrance in The Shining.
Not kind of like he's completely doing Jack Torrance, and I was like, of course, Bex, of course. It all leads full circle with the pod.
So when he does that, Renton's only way to get out is to climb out over the wall, but the wall kind of just like collapses down as he's climbing it, and he makes a break for it. He climbs up into the rafters above in the room, and there's like an open window there, but he realizes it's too high up in the building. It's literally on the roof of the pub, which is like a 3 or 4 story building at this point. And he's not going to be able to jump down. So when he comes back in, he is caught by Begbie. And we get a bit of a visually rough scene, so be ready for some
trigger warning
descriptions of trigger warning of what's about to happen. I hate this scene, hate it for obvious reasons, but Begbie pushes him through the rafters, and he's going to fall back into the floor that's underneath them. But
he's wrapped up on the cords in the.
He does.
Yeah.
On the floor, yeah.
The work hasn't been entirely finished on the rafters, so there's loose wires and stuff that we'd been kind of like foreshadowed earlier when Spud was working. There's like shots of it all
In
there
another
showing it.
movie, this thing happens, and you're like, "Well, he's the hero; he's going to survive." But I was really like, "Oh shit! Are they about to kill Markov here? Like, is this the true end for this character? Like, because it's almost fitting in this gritty, horrible world, you know?"
That was my note on it. Like, people would say, "Oh, if he dies this way, it's kind of goofy. It's kind of like it's clumsy. It suits how his whole life has been. It's been gritty. It's been dark, and his whole life has been just like metaphorically just scramble, like just a scramble of like. So for him to go out in just a way like this,
like he should have died so many times before as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like the overdose in the first movie. That's like the time you would have said that's where he should have probably went, giving the life he has bought.
So like this would have been a very suitable way, and I know the dark connotations around it is you know, it can be very triggering, especially for people who have like relate to situations like that. But like I think it's very poetic to the character of Mark Renton. That's like, you're thinking, okay, because people would say, oh well, if he's going to go out, let him redeem himself, or let him go out and like protecting other people or protecting his friends. But it's like all these shitty people don't always get, you know, the redemption arc or the happy ending that you think they deserve. That if he just died in the attic of, or in like hanging from cords in a renovated building, it's like, that's sometimes the reality of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah,
it would have been a fitting ending.
Yes,
like if that was it, I honestly would have been happy with it. I like the ending we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I love this next scene where you're thinking, what's Begbie going to do here? Is it like, is he going to get cold feet, or is he going to is he just going to watch? But he does something that's oddly comforting in a way. I
thought he was going to he'd like went the other way and he was going to save him.
Yeah.
In this moment, the way he grabs, so he goes down the stairs and he grabs Renton's feet, right?
His legs.
And I thought, he's going to lift him up and save him
take
here.
The pressure.
But then he pulls him down, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But he just holds him there, and it's brutal. But then I'm just like, it's weird how it's almost like he's holding him. It's really, how do you interpret that, Beckham? Like, what did you think of?
Honestly, I don't know. It's difficult.
Yeah.
The whole scene is like, even when I watch it, it's a bit rough, and I don't big into it and what's happening on that story.
Okay. Yeah.
But like we've said, unfortunately, Renton is hanging, and Begbie's decided that he's going to cling onto him and not help him like the lads has expected. Instead, he's pulling on his legs, which it kind of goes against the little moment we had, because like with him and Franco Jr., where he has that human point, he's not human anymore. That's gone. He left that bit with his family, and now
that's cool.
And he says it as well himself. He's like, none of us are leaving here. So I fully have the intention, or the belief, that he was ready to go himself once he got rid of all of these as well.
Yeah,
he wasn't going back to prison, because the entire bit at the start.
We'll get to it again, but there's another character who I thought, they're dead now as well. That's coming up. That doesn't happen too. So
but that's what I take from this, is that there was nobody meant to leave, and Begbie isn't. There's no nice Begbie. This is, I've got Renton, he's gone, everybody's going to be gone. I'm cleaning up the fucking mess of 20 years ago, Begbie. But it's unfortunate that we have this very long scene, and they do it very well. It's difficult to watch, difficult to even watch what Begbie does, because like you guys both said, you thought he'd have clicked in and maybe lifted him out of it or anything. No, he holds on, ready to confirm it.
He couldn't get past his past, in that moment.
No, he couldn't let go. Yeah. But then, like you said, the world changes, but we don't,
Yeah, that exactly. I had that after the point as a note, that's exactly the point of it. He didn't change at all, no matter what the situation with Renton or Simon now is. He didn't give a shit. It was about what happened 20 years ago. The whole purpose of the film is none of them move past their past. All of them are still 50 fucking years of age, clinging on to 20-year age heroin addicts, lifestyles and beliefs and shit. But luckily enough, in the very last moment, Simon comes in to save Renton by spraying Begbie into the face.
He maces him with the mace from the beginning that he was going to use on the
naked guy that got pegged.
Guy.
Yeah.
The Peggy.
The Peggy.
The Peggy.
I've ruined that name. I'm sorry if you're called that.
Peggy.
Peggy's listening to We Know. We love you. We love you, Peggy.
We love you, Peggy. We do. So now he's scrambling on the floor. He's angry and he's loading up a shotgun to shoot.
Dude just pulls out a fucking shotgun out of his bag.
Yeah. He the full get up, ready to clean the whole place out no matter what. But again, to save everybody, our real hero of this story, Bud, slaps him with a full porcelain toilet into the head.
How that didn't. Yeah, we'll talk about.
And he died, and that was the end of Big B.
Rest in peace.
They killed him.
No, unfortunately, he's not dead. He gets loaded into the boot/trunk for you American guys of a car.
I don't think that Spud could have lived with the guilt of killing somebody.
No,
I think that's why they. I mean, thematically, there's lots of reasons why you don't kill off this character, but that character needed a happy ending for this, and you don't get that with him killing a guy.
You'd have had a sadder ending and a possible unneeded, unwanted trilogy explaining what happened to Spud after killing Begbie if he'd have done it.
Yeah.
If you'd have killed him, you'd have had a third movie.
Although now we've got the chance of Begbie coming back as like know how Michael Myers in Halloween 2018 is like 70 or 80 and is still going around killing people.
Nah, they turn Begbie into RoboCop and they just send them out to find Renton.
Robo Ned, I see.
Just speaking in a robotically gruff Scottish accent would be just the funniest thing.
So from our scene, we then cut to Veronica with Spud narrating over it. She's returned back to Bulgaria. Spud had signed over using fraudulent signatures of Renton and Sick Boy to sign over the entire £100,000 to Veronica, but she did kindly offer to give him a cut, but he said no because he knows he just wasted on drugs the same way he did with the money left him last time. And it is here when we get back to Bulgaria that we see the actual purpose of why Veronica wanted to come home with something is because she herself has a child back in Bulgaria.
Oh, that's her kid.
Yes, that is her child. So she needed to, remember when they had the conversation and she's like, I have to come home with something. She needed to come back out of Scotland with something for her own child. So now she's done it.
She sends half of the money to Spud's family as well, though.
Yes,
That's how they fixed that. That's how they fixed the ending of the first one, where Spud doesn't get it because he would fuck it up. But his kid,
it's sent to Gail instead. Yeah. Which again, that's it's another twist, the same as the end one is where there's opportunity and there's betrayal. Veronica fucked over both Renton and Simon by stealing their money and then just leaving. Renton then have you guys got any notes on this one just at the end?
No, very little.
Seb, have you anything, or will I just keep going with it?
I got some closing thoughts once it's finished.
Okay, right. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna lie. This could get a little deep now on my side for the Renton bit. Renton returns home after everything that's happened, and when he does come back in home, his dad embraces him, and he obviously has a marking on his neck from what has happened. I won't obviously dive too deep into it. I've had that situation. I get this entire ending. I can see it. Can see myself in it. With my own parents. It's kind of sad. That's all I'll go. I'll leave it with that. I have an understanding of the ending of it because at the end of the day, I can imagine his dad thinking like, what's after happening? Has he tried to do this himself? And now he's come back for my help again, because that's what Renton's done. I've been there, been in the situation, been Renton. We do have, obviously, Spud is also bringing another copy of his book to give to Gail to read. He's now kind of got a complete draft of it. Begbie wakes up in the boot of the car. He's been left right outside the police station with a bunch of cops coming to get him. He's going right back to prison.
I
Probably
thought he was going
spending
to
more
wake up in like a trunk or something, and then it'd cut to like the trunk underwater. You know,
Oh,
like
or
I thought
something,
they'd
yeah.
Or
throw
one
him
of
into
them
the river
car
or something.
compactors. You know those ones where they like compress the cars? Yeah.
Oh,
I
speaking of
thought the
Michael
same.
Myers,
Yes. His amazing death.
God, I hate that movie.
I just want Robert Carlyle as Myers now. I just, in some form of media, I just want a shorter Myers with just like sneaking underneath the mask, calling everyone a dust cunt and everything. Like,
Well, if you want the Australian version, Wolf Creek, it's right there.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
true.
calling people cunt all the time. Yeah.
So there's that. Then we have a little meta moment again with Renton and Simon sitting on the couch talking about Spud's been writing all these stories, he's writing the books, but who the fuck is going to read those? And then from there, it cuts to Gail going, I have a title for your story, which is now everybody can understand. Trainspotting 1 and 2 in this world was written by Spud. He wrote us our story. He told us our entire tale. And that is Trainspotting, guys.
oh, one last shot.
The last shot.
Renton in his room. He plays his music, and then his room starts to expand the exact same way it did in the original movie.
Turns
when he was
into
going
a
through
train tunnel.
Craziness.
Yeah, like pulling away from the
with all
story.
of the
Indeed.
flashing lights
Yes.
the trains on the wallpaper.
And then that's it. We made it through Trainspotting in
T2.
total, both of them.
Yep.
There we go.
So
hopeful ending.
It is a hopeful ending. Yeah, it's a good ending. The characters are still in a lot of shit because how are they going to explain that they don't have this £100,000 and anybody believe them?
Yeah.
So they're fucked. One's back in prison, but that's probably for the best. That is for the best.
Yeah.
We don't know if Spud will stay on the straight and narrow, but at least he's done good for his family there, you know?
Yeah.
And luckily Veronica's managed to go back home, and hopefully she makes good life decisions in the future. The film is all the edge of the first, right? But it's got a lot of respect for the original story, and it's moved forward organically, and that is just so much more than I could say for most like legacy sequels, right? I loved that. We were just talking about the Halloween, we were joking about that because they did not have that respect. It started to look like they did in 2018, but maybe
the 2018 one is very good, and then kills fell, and then ends is like, hey, you're dying, let's spit on it and
it's
shit.
Very similar to the Star Wars sequels, where you're like the Force Awakens, everybody was kind of on board. People, in hindsight, it's not that good.
Seb, are you saying Halloween Ends is my Star Wars trilogy?
Yes, actually, yes, legitimately, yes.
As you said that, Clips.
The difference is that they were all by the same guys, right? The Halloween Ends trilogy. But the Star Wars, it was like a back and forth between. Anyway, I didn't watch I didn't watch this until recently, but my experience with Danny Boyle was always 28 Days Later. That was my original experience with him. I've watched a bunch of his movies since that I love. So watching this sequel so many years after the fact gives me a lot of hope for 28 years later.
Yeah.
I remember watching 28 Weeks Later and thinking it was dog shit. But the opening with Robert Carlyle
coincidence
is fantastic. It's incredible.
It baits you into the movie, because I watched it only a couple of years back for the first time, and I was like, this is really cool, and Robert Carlyle is going to be in it, and it's a great
but
movie.
Danny Boyle's not directing it
like,
either. He didn't direct. So
Steve,
that's me on it.
Letterbox it. What would you rate?
Oh, good question.
Oh, that is good. What did you rate the first one? Sorry.
Yeah, I should have asked. Yeah, what do you give both? Sorry.
Pretty sure I would have given, if I haven't reviewed it, I'm definitely sure I'm sure I give it a 4.5.
The original,
or definitely a 4. It's one or the other, and whatever. Yeah, like I'm trying to figure it out now. No, I didn't bloody rate it. Okay, well I've been slacking on my We Know Kino promotion on Letterboxd. I'm going to fix that when I'm on vacation. Trainspotting 1, I would be a 4.5. Trainspotting 2 would be a 4. I'm fairly confident with this.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fair. Right. Question then: would you guys, like, down the line, would you ever watch these again?
I think I will watch this in the same way I watch a lot of things where if somebody hasn't seen them, I'd like to show them and live vicariously through them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel the need to go back and watch this for any other reason, like because it's not like a very necessarily like happy experience. You know what I mean?
It's not something like, oh, I can't wait to watch Trainspotting.
Yeah.
It's like I adore Oppenheimer, right? And when that movie came out, I watched it like 4 times, but I've not rushed back to see it again because it's a very, it's a deep movie, right? It's not a popcorn flick.
No.
And neither is this at all.
I was saying on stream yesterday, I was saying that we'd obviously recorded Dire Dead. It was live. And I said, like, Clarelle, bless her soul, she was just like, I'm nearly finished the episode. What's this week's episode? I can't wait to see it. And I was like, oh, well, if you're almost finished, I'll give you a little hint. And I was like, it's a sequel to Beck's last movie that you picked. And she just goes, oh. I just like the thought of it. She was like, oh.
Clarelle, you maybe won't listen to this one, but just know that you're the best.
Okay.
We know you.
Great,
I get it. There is going to be a lot of choices. I'm sure we're all going to pick that's not going to set with some people. And I knew this wouldn't. These are rough.
It's a great movie, but yeah, for some people, like it can just deal with like obviously themes and there is people that just enjoy movies, but they don't really enjoy movies that make them feel like shit.
I find it fascinating that the safety net every 3 weeks is the fucking zombie movie that's going to be picked. That's the comforting movie because like Steve, you're the wild card, and Bex, you're the deep meta, like long form.
Well, I promise. I don't know what, like, right, I've made this promise. I'm not going to spoil too many things. I will be dipping into horror soon.
Okay. Well, I will when we get back to the 3 of our choices. Oh, by the way, okay. All right, shut up. Bex, what did you rate the movie before we move on?
Oh, yeah.
I'll do both. I've always given the first movie a 5 because I do love it. I think it's very, like, it's a very... If I want to tell people about movies I love, I'll tell them about Trainspotting. I'll be like, you should check it out if you've never seen it. And then I give this one a 4.5. I just take the half star like Steve does with his, because it's just when if you put me into a room and you gave me 2 fucking discs of 1 and 2 and you said pick one, I'm picking the first one over it. That's the only reason I give it that half star off, is just because the first one is the more iconic, the more wanted, more needed movie. This one, the second one, could not exist, and I wouldn't mind. Like I like,
this
and I can imagine there's loads of people.
This is almost as good as a sequel could be.
Yeah. And I don't think there was anybody asking for it. Like I don't think anybody in the 90s was going, please make Trainspotting 2. You got a Trainspotting, and then when it was announced, I remember people getting excited then.
Yeah.
Like there was nobody for years being like, please continue their story. We want to know. You just took your movie and you got your ending, and now we got a sequel that ended up
Danny Boyle in an interview was saying how when they did their test screening for this, they did it in Charlie, because they try and screen the movies in like smaller places to get like a more authentic reaction.
Yeah,
and it was full of people coming out after the fact just being like, phew, I can't believe they didn't fuck it. This is so good. Good job. Rather than like great movie, just like good job, you didn't ruin it.
That's exactly what we were like. When we came out of the cinema, like again, I was only after turning 21, life was lifing and whatever. And Callum was still in school. We even came out, and Callum, I don't think had even seen the original before seeing this one. He went with us. And I was just like, I'm so glad they didn't mess up a single person story. Like they didn't make anybody hated, or they didn't fuck something up, or they didn't make the original feel less than it was. It was just, I came out of it thinking this is just fine. Yeah. And we don't get that with fucking sequels now, like where they come out of nowhere. We're like, well, maybe, I don't know what people are saying about Beetlejuice this week.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. I don't know what people are saying.
I've heard good responses from it.
I've heard less good responses from it.
Oh, less good. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I think Hillary, you can correct us if you know Hillary. You should write a comment and tell me that I quoted you wrong. Said that it's not a good movie, but it was fun. Right.
Oh, okay.
So that's all you need sometimes, right?
It's fine with the Beetlejuice movie. Like I wouldn't go in going, oh my.
Well, I've never seen the original, so I don't know like what kind
of. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a Tim Burton movie. It's a very thing of like.
I've seen his animated films. I've not really seen his live action films too many of them.
They're still good. They're still. I think Beetlejuice we watched it recently. It still holds up. But I wouldn't have imagined it.
Yeah.
But I would have, before this was announced, the sequel, I would have never imagined him making a sequel for it. I thought it would have been another solo, leave it there kind of movie. I would have never expected any kind of sequel until it was said that it was happening.
Mm-hmm. And it literally, if we never got it, that's totally fine. But the fact that we did get it and it was so serviceable and like was true to the source material, true to the characters, and just it was a movie.
We're talking about Trainspotting again, yeah, not Beetlejuice.
Yeah. But no, it was like I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I've seen both of them now. Like I would revisit them in the future down the line if somebody ever broached this topic to me and like I've been interested in seeing this, and I would be like it would be a hearty recommendation for me. But I would be like, be prepared to feel things watching it. You know, it's very emotional.
You guys.
Themes.
Yeah, I've shown Callum them now. I've shown our friend Aaron them. I've shown you guys are in a list of people because it's one that just when somebody goes show me a movie you like, it's it's two movies. It's easy to show. Like I'm not getting you into a franchise fucking 15 movies and going love them all. It's two movies. They're very close. No, but like I'm not shitting on you for doing it, but you know what I mean. Like when it comes to just going,
we've got one more Bex, we've got one more Johnny Romero.
I'm actually. I promise. I'm not shitting on the zombies or shitting on you for showing them. I'm just saying in a level like I could show people like fucking if I wanted to big ass series or show them movies about like you mentioned I could show them Donnie Darko and have them spending the week doing whiteboard connecting the dots to see what it means. These are very easy. They're very deep and they're very easy to show somebody. And it's just something that's in my head is like, if you've never seen them, you just need to see them because they're very good.
Yeah. It's one of those movies you just, if
you're into cinema, Danny Boyle.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Kino, right? Kino right now.
Kino. Danny Boyle knows Kino.
He knows Kino. Yeah.
He knows Kino, yeah.
Should we, are we done? Are we done? Are we good? With the film? With the film. We're still here, guys, so don't turn off yet. We need to tell you guys what movie we're going to be covering next week and how we're going to be doing things because, Steve, you are flying away on your holiday, on your trip away.
My vacation,
And I'm sure you'll tell us all about it when you get back. And so we're going to have a guest. We're going to have, I think it's 2 weeks, right? We've got guests coming for the next two weeks. So we've got one guest coming next week and we're letting them choose their movies. And when Steve gets back, we'll be right in Halloween season, spooky season. So we'll probably be doing scary films. So think about, while you're away, Steve, think about, I think it's your choice next, isn't it? So think about, well, we can all discuss this as well if we want to do anything particular for Halloween.
Around whenever Steve's back or when he is back, we'll figure out what we're doing. But
we'll figure that out. But
chats.
Just you guys know we're big into the horror genre, so that'll be cool to talk about some good scary movies. But yeah, next week we have. I'll announce it now. I just locked it in. I just got the confirmation messages. We've got Rogue Zach. You might know him from our streams or in the chat, or he's a streamer in his own right as well. And like you, Steve, he's also doing film school. And I love talking movies with the guy. I can't wait to have him on. He has picked a movie for us. We're going to watch The Goonies and discuss that. And I've never seen The Goonies before, so I don't know what to expect.
I love The Goonies. Fucking awesome.
Is it by the guy who did Ferris Bueller?
Good question.
That is a good question. I will do the look up right now as we continue to
so Zach's gonna come in and we're gonna discuss some Goonies, and you know what, I'll save the next guest announcement for next week.
We mentioned the guy that made the Goonies already. It is the same guy that directed the original Omen.
The Omen, that was it. Okay,
that was it.
He did the Omen. So, Steve, it's a connection because you chose the Omen as your first episode.
Zach just gets it. Zach knows Kino already.
I thought I knew it was one of the directors we'd covered, and I thought Ferris Bueller made more sense as like a child-friendly movie, right? Than I'm assuming the Goonies is the guy who made the fucking Omen film. Okay, All right,
it's very good. It's very good. Are we keeping the second guest until next week?
Yeah, let's save it until next week, right? I mean, if you're in the pod, if you're in our streams, you'll probably know already. So
Yeah.
That'll be around. But for listeners, if there's
Keep
any,
it secret.
I don't know if anybody listens to us who doesn't watch one of our streams. If you are out here listening and don't take part in any of that, let me know. That'd be cool. Give us a comment, or just stay lurking as well. That's cool too. It's do you know people,
I think
Max?
there might be one or two little things that popped up that are not, maybe they have a different name on YouTube than they might do on other things.
Yeah,
maybe, but I think there's like one or two little things that popped up over a while, and I'm like, don't think we know them, but maybe it's different names. So
cool.
I'm not calling
if you
anybody
don't know us, that's awesome. That is awesome. If we've managed to expand ourselves to anybody else, and you've managed to listen this far as well, that's epic. But that also, guys, we do stream. We do all the things. So let's plug right now before we talk about what we've been up to with our weeks. Bex, where can people find you?
We have got a Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, Letterboxd, and I fixed every name because I know last week I had like 7 in some names and it was complicated. I fixed them all this week. It's Bex Fian 7 on everything.
Nice.
Because I fixed it all. So
good job.
Go check me out in places. I knew that was confusing some people because I was getting asked, it's like, why is some places got 2 7s? I fixed it all. So go check it all out. Seb, where are we getting you?
You can get me on Twitch at the Spooky Memes. You can get me on YouTube at the Spooky Memes. I've been putting loads of work in YouTube, so go check that out. Lots of dual perspective videos of me against other streamers, and I'm just pushing everything there, and TikTok as well. TikTok, I'm going ham on TikTok, and I've been trying to do an Insta, but the Spooky Memes is already taken on Insta. So when I eventually manage to make my account, it'll be called something else, and I'll let you guys know. But I'm not on there. I'm on there for my photography. I'm not on there for my more online presence. That's a different project. I got lots of projects, soon. So maybe that'll be coming soon. Yes, and the We Know Kino also has their own our own Twitch. Not Twitch. Fuck. We should take that though. Our own Twitter. Steve. Where can people? Where can people won't be able to find you for a few weeks? But you'll be back.
I'll be back in one piece. Steve Knievel on Twitch, YouTube, and I know I'm repeating myself. Steve Knievel on Twitch, YouTube, Letterboxd, and I know I'm repeating from last week's episode, but I promise it this time. Soon to be TikTok.
Soon to be TikTok. Yo, Bex found some success on TikTok recently. Badass.
Surprisingly, I've been posting some like, hey, this is what I've watched on, like, doing movie talks basically, and one of them just banged. So movie stuff will be still getting posted. I like posting movie stuff. And also, while we're in the middle of plugs, please, anybody that does check out our Twitter or whatever, let us know about I'm trying some stuff with the announcements with pictures and stuff. Let me know if it's better that way, if you guys liked it with the link showing up with like the click on boxes with Spotify and stuff, because I'm trying with the pictures, because movie pages get interactions by saying the director and the date and pictures and stuff. It seems to bang more, so I'm trying that for us.
Cool.
If anybody uses Twitter, just let us know. That's it. Just a little bit of a, hey, I prefer it this way or that way. That's it. Okay.
That's our plugs. Well, what's everyone been up to?
Shall we do our yapping bubble segment? I'm saying it so the auto AI on Spotify will pick up the segment. Right.
Yapping bubble. Right, okay.
Bex, you started last time, so you go first this time. What have you been up to?
I've got one now, because we were talking about remakes and legacy sequels and all of this earlier, right? Sunday night, myself and the boys watched the original The Crow, and that was my first time ever seeing it.
Okay.
I've not seen it, but I know there's a remake just came out, which is apparently awful.
It's meant to be fucking terrible. Okay. This original, knowing the legacy behind it, and rest in peace to Brandon Lee, I fucking loved it. This thing is cool as hell. It's like so gothic, and it's got like little cheesy lines, but for some reason the entire vibe of the movie made the cheesy lines work. Tony Todd is in it, and he honestly in this movie could have been Blade. Yeah. Oh, cool, he could have been Blade. He looks like Blade. His hair, the glasses, the way he's dressed, he looks like Blade. I don't know why it took me so long to see this movie. I fucking love it. I will probably rewatch it at some point over the next couple of months
So
to
big
give
recommend?
myself a proper go. I would. If you've never seen it, I'd fully
I've
see
never
it.
seen it
and
before.
I'm excited to check out the sequel, or not the sequel, the remake, to see how terrible it is.
Hasn't it been done again? Wasn't there a sequel or a remake?
There was sequels to the original one.
Okay.
And Callum informed me that they're bad, so we won't be seeing those, supposedly. But I want to watch the remake when it comes out on digital because I want to see how badly they fucked it up. Because
It'll
this
be coming
movie
out on digital like next week with the rate.
Oh, 100%.
These movies are coming out.
Yeah. But like, this is the most 90s movie I've watched in a while. Like, every single part of it, all the way through watching it, I was just thinking, how do you modernize it? It has a certain time vibe, and that's it. So I can't imagine a new one. What else have I done? I've not really watched a bunch of stuff. I've kind of had a quiet week.
You've been
We played the casting of Frank Stone. I have. Right. We had an awkward situation the other night. So
Did we?
We played some games together. Right. So we played some games together in separate streams. Seb was streaming and I was streaming at the same time, right? And I said to everybody in my stream, I'm going off at 11. I need to get food done. I need to get the movie done for the podcast. But I joined Seb. And then I said, stupidly, I'll go off when Seb goes off.
Oh, yeah.
When the lads go off, I'll go off.
Bruh, I ended up streaming for like 8 hours, dude.
I didn't get off stream until 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
and everyone was like, just go.
Me.
Because when you said, all right, lad, I'm going to jump out, I had like 10 levels to get to hit the prestige I was aiming for. So I was like, I may as well just keep going.
10 levels.
And then it was 3 o'clock.
Yeah, no, I remember I raided Bex right before I got. So we weren't in the call together this time. I raided Bex right before I got to the 8-hour mark on stream, and Bex was just about to hit it as well. And I'm like, oh, Bex is doing a lot of streaming here. And then I also had Bex come on my stream.
Yeah.
And dude, you were loved and everybody had a great time and that was fantastic. And
I got to be the spooky memes for 10 minutes while Seb ran and used toilet. So I am technically a part of the spooky memes now.
Yeah. And
So-
Steve, when you get back from your trip, I'd love to have you guys on and we'll have the full We Know Kino experience. And honestly, it was kind of like, I was like, when we were talking and playing, I'm like, I just have to stopping myself from being like, oh, I could say this on the pod. Like, I'm just not going to be able to even talk because that's just how we are outside of this.
Yeah.
Is we just like to talk movies.
I don't really hold back on stuff unless it's something we know we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of TV shows on there.
Yeah.
Shall I segue in then? What I've been up to?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, go for it.
If you got anything else, jump in at any point as well.
Yeah.
I watched Terminator Zero on Netflix, and because I saw that it had like rave reviews, people loving it, and God, it's so boring. It's so dull. And then the end of it, I'm like, please come together, because whenever you're watching something with time travel, it's so easy for it to just turn to utter shit, right? The ending was terrible, in my opinion. I think it was really bad, and it kind of... The best part of Terminator Zero was the opening scene, where there's like a Terminator going through just like wrecking people, and then he has a big fight with one of the main characters, and that was great. And then the rest of it is just... it turns into proper anime bullshit where we have like a cute girl who has like, she ends up getting a robot arm. It's just always the way in anime, So yeah, I didn't have a fun time with that. It's not even that I hold like the original Terminator movies up in too much high regard. I think I've only seen Terminator 2 and I don't remember it very well. So I was just after some cool sci-fi time travel shit, right? Because that's I love that. But I did get behind that. And I played a new game called Gory Cuddly Carnage, where you play. I think I mentioned this last week that I was going to play it. I did play it. It's incredible. If you are like me and you come from like the original Xbox era of gaming, and like you've got a lot of nostalgia for those platformers and like character action games, like I guess like where you're just button mashing and just destroying loads of things on the screen. It's that, but just done so well, and it's got really 2008 sense of humor that I really vibed with. Also, I got some new games recently. Hillary and Clarel both gifted me some games. One game I can't talk about here, and one game I can. I'm gonna try and find the time to play Lords of the Fallen. The other game is a bit rude, so I'm not going to mention that. I'm going to be doing a weekly trip to Edinburgh to the set of Trainspotting because I'm learning Japanese next month. Over the next few months, and I've got a Steam Deck, so I've got a lot of time I'm going to be spending on trains. So it's great that I've got some games to play on my Steam Deck. So thanks for that. That's incredible. Obviously, one I can't be playing on the train in public. That one. It's Pokemon, but with anime girls. It's crazy. Yeah, that's me. Steve?
What you got to? Yeah, I'm trying to remember what, because
I feel like you say this every week. Yeah, watch Godzilla Minus One again. It was great.
I really likes it.
Did I mention Trap last week or no?
No,
I watched
I watched Trap again.
I finally got around to watching Trap. My God, talk about a movie. I won't spoil it for our respected Beckham.
Yeah, please.
But
please.
It definitely feels like I loved the first half. Didn't like the second half, but Josh Hartnett is fantastic.
Josh Hartnett's dope, isn't he? He's so awesome.
So good.
What do you think of the singer then?
I thought she was fine until then I realized that she's M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. So I was like, okay, well, talk about nepotism. But she was absolutely fine, and she played her role like solid. But Josh Hartnett just picked up the whole plot, carried it on his back. I do think if you're on the fence about watching it, watch it just for him, because I think he is.
Do you think he's back?
I would say if he can, I know this is kind of.
We've had him in Oppenheimer recently. He was great in that, right?
Exactly.
Is he going to be a main guy again? Given probably Trap and
he doesn't
Oppenheimer
seem like
be
he wants to be the movie star, though. That's not.
No.
So maybe not in that sense. But if he wants to be, he could be back. I think because he's great in Trap. He's fantastic. He really elevates everything to do with Trap. He elevates.
Okay.
Yeah,
because he's always been an actor I've liked, from H2O, 40 Days and 40 Nights, The Faculty.
H2O Halloween.
Yeah, sorry, H2O Halloween. Yeah.
H2O.
Even though that movie's bad, I've always just kind of had I've always kind of liked it. But The Faculty is probably one of my all-time favorite movies, and he's in it. He's great in it. But yeah, this was just a nice return to form. If I don't see him again in anything for another couple of years, that's fine. I'll have him in this. But I'm not going to say anything about the movie until Beckham sees it. But who knows?
I was supposed to watch it yesterday, but
I thought Shyamalan's daughter. I thought she was like a younger Anya Taylor-Joy, and I was like, oh, she's great. I had a really, really good time with all of the cast, really. I thought they're all pretty dope. But Josh Hartnett, definitely, it's his film.
It's his film.
Yeah.
So definitely, Steve, recommendation. I've been still watching more anime Death Parade, and then the Forest of the Firefly Lights, really good short movie. Finished The Last of Us Part 1. What a masterpiece of a game still. And yeah, I'm getting ready to pack, heading off on vacation I managed to get my dates with Fly Emirates changed because I've my university induction on Thursday, so I fly out now on Friday. So that's sweet.
Did that change while we were filming?
Yes.
Because you said right before we started, hey, I'm trying to do this, and now you're saying it's
flight time, and they've finally responded, and they've got me on the next flight the next afternoon. So that's
incredible. Wow, good guys.
Fly Emirates, yeah, good airline.
Emirates,
unlike Ryanair. Yeah, not Ryanair. Fuck Ryanair.
I'm flying EasyJet next month.
EasyJet,
easy.
GG EasyJet.
GG. Good luck next.
Yeah,
but
good luck indeed.
I've been very content, with what the media I've been consuming since we did the Diary of the Dead episode.
We just had a new comment from somebody I don't recognize this name on our Diary of the Dead episode right now.
Oh, there we go.
Now, shall I read it? We'll do a little shout out.
Yeah.
I maybe won't say their name in case they don't want it, but they said, I like this movie. It reminded me of The Walking Dead.
Can you comment underneath asking, is it after season 10?
Wait, you think Walking Dead got bad after season 10?
No, it got unwatchable past that point. Don't worry.
It was unwatchable a little while before that, I would argue. Yeah.
Well, hey, look, there we go. We proved a point in the middle of the podcast too that random people have bumped into us. So
Thanks for checking us out, randos.
Yeah, if you're new to us, if you come from one of the communities, either way, we appreciate you. But it's great to see that our movie, like our podcast, can have that sort of like.
And if you want to get shouted out at the end of one of these, just know that we record on a Monday, so get your comments in.
yeah, comments in early on a Monday.
Like anytime about lunchtime UK time on a Monday, if you comment and we end up seeing it in the middle of it, we will probably read it. More than likely.
But just know that we do read all the comments anyway, and we're very thankful for them all.
We read them all. We try to respond to them all. We love you all.
We try and have some fun conversations with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
That's what I love the most about movies.
I got to shout out Hillary as well.
I love Hillary's comments. Every one of them.
Oh, so good. So good.
I was actually able to talk to her directly last night for the first time in what felt like forever, and I was just like, I just want to sit here for like 10 minutes just thanking you and saying like it means the world to all of us when you engage in the conversation.
Hillary, if you've made it to this point, me and Ghost are running away together and we're leaving you. I'm sorry.
You know, everyone's convinced me and you are running away together.
No, me and Ghost have a little bond going at the moment.
First comes the opportunity, then the betrayal. I see.
Ghost got a good selection in movies. Hillary and Ghost.
Great taste.
Yeah, great taste in movies.
Boys.
How we doing? We good? We done? I think we
cool. Good. Yeah. Episode 14. No audio issues. Last week was just.
Let's hope so.
Discord was just being stink. That's all it was. Discord last week there was just stuff going on with it. It was just fucking stupid.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, watching. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify. Like the video on YouTube. Hit us up with a little comment. Even if you've got nothing to say about the movie, maybe tell us what your favorite kind of sandwich is. I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Send messages on Twitter of movie recommendations too, all of them. Anything you want us to talk about, because I'm jotting them all onto a list now. Everything that gets sent to me.
Spooky movies in particular as well, because as I said, Halloween's upon us. We will be getting into scary movies. Steve, do you have your choice before? Wait, one, two. Will you be back on the 30th? For the 30th, I mean.
Let me look at my calendar. Let me look at my juicy calendar.
That's like two Mondays from now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you'll be back before spooky season.
So wait. So Zach, mystery. Return?
Yeah. And then spooky season. Or we could start with Steve.
The 30th should be the spooky because it'll release into October, right?
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay, we'll figure that out then. We'll figure that out.
We'll and again, if you guys want a particular spooky movie to be talked about, let us know, because we'll have to consider some stuff to cover.
Even if we don't cover it in Halloween, I mean, we just love spooky movies. So
if we don't cover it on an episode, we can still discuss it if we've watched it during the spooky season.
Yeah,
people who ask me about the pod, they're always like, "Yeah, but is it just horror movies?" And I'm always like, "No, it's not. We're variety, but we do love horror. So there will be in there if you're into horror. We got horror. If you're into Kino, we got Kino.
We know Kino. We just know it.
Podcast. Thank you for listening. We will be doing The Goonies next week, so make sure to tune back in.
With a new voice.
Not this voice.
Or we'll all talk like this.
Before you go, so you mentioned Tony Todd. I seen him in a movie recently as well. I seen him in a movie called Hellfest. It sucked. The end.
Oh yeah. No, it sucked.
Hellfest's bad, but Tony Todd good. So
Tony Todd is good. I love Tony Todd.
I loved him in the Final Destination movies.
He is cool in them.
I love those movies, except for the 4th one, and I was excited to find out that there's a 6th one coming out. So that'll be cool.
Hopefully that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
I never want. the streets will never forget that the third movie was called The Final Destination, or was it the fourth movie?
Was it? I don't remember.
Probably the fourth movie. They always do that with fours. It's like the Fast and Furious did that too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay.
We good? We good? Family.
We're good.
Peace, guys. Thanks. Later.
Bye.